joining us in studio. There's my voice again, right there too.
You're everywhere.
I was like, man, we got Grunny in here pretty quickly. He's joining the studio immediately, but
just crashing
crashes through the window.
Timmy, still got an hour, buddy.
Yeah, we got another hour to go before we talk with him. He'll join us from 3 to 4. Then the 4 o'clock hour, we're going to open things up with a 2-minute drill. Then Todd Lebo will join us over the phone for a brief segment. We'll probably get his thoughts on the Chiefs. They spoke to the media earlier today. We'll have some of that sound. Yeah, kind of spoke to the media there. We did get news that Andy Reid plans to come back unless they don't want to have him back. So you can put to rest any idea of him retiring. And like we've discussed with Travis Kelce before, not really the year you want to retire. Though Andy Reid and Travis Kelce are in different spots, different situations. We can probably also get Lebo's thoughts on Kelce, Andy Reid. Same goes for Tim Grunhard. And also in the 5 o'clock hour, we'll talk with Trent Green. And that's going to be a great conversation because
Monday evening quarterback.
He had the game in Nashville 2 weeks ago, and that's a rough game to have. But then you were able to, I guess, evaluate what the Chiefs looked like on Christmas night. Some people that we had on the show on Friday, or I guess it would have been Wednesday, it all blends together now, that the Chiefs were going to get dominated. There's just no way they could match up with the Denver Broncos. I get it. Moral victories are not enjoyable, and when you've been to 5 out of the last 6 Super Bowls, you're not going to get T-shirts for that. You're not going to be over the moon about playing the Denver Broncos close, regardless
unless you're
of
the
who's
Bengals.
out there.
Unless you're the Bengals, you have T-shirts, and
then you can, I guess,
for games you lost.
But only one more to go for the Kansas City Chiefs. What does Trent Green think about this season as a whole, and what can you really look forward to on Sunday? That'll be a 3:25 kick with the Raiders, who, we've talked about the Chiefs maybe wanting to lose. Now, nobody would go out there and admit that. No player, no coach, no front office member is going to say we want to lose this game. But so are the Raiders. The Raiders want the number 1 overall pick in the draft. And
they screwed it up last year by winning in a meaningless game.
They did.
And there is news that Geno Smith is not going to start this week. So I'll have to see if that line has moved. It was 6.5 last night.
That's wild to me.
Just got even worse. So the Raiders were dominated at home by a bad Giants team.
I can't even remember the last game they won. It had to have been in October.
Can you believe they beat the Patriots?
I can't. And
that win, that game is going to end up costing, if both teams win out, New England and Denver, it's going to cost New England a first-round bye because the difference is common opponents, and the Raiders were swept by the Broncos, and they beat the Patriots somehow. When you look back at this season, that's going to be one of the more inexplicable regular season results. Raiders over Pats.
And you thought in that moment after that game that it was a Raiders team that was going to have a lot of stability with Pete Carroll. They won that game comfortably, by the way. It was not I felt that they had won that game by double digits, if I'm not mistaken. And the Patriots, I think, played it close in the first half, but it was not the same Patriots team we've seen.
Or the same Raiders team.
Or the same Raiders team for the last 15 weeks.
Everyone expects Pete Carroll to get blown out after 1 year. There's really no reason to bring him back. There was not much reason to bring him there to begin with, but
no, I thought that it was going to be more of a, we say stopgap players all the time. Get this guy in here to just level out the playing field, raise the floor of this team for a year or two, then turn it over to the guy who can take the reins over. If I'm Pete Carroll, you wanted to come back to coaching and enjoy it and maybe rebuild something special. There would be no part of me at his age, even though he's in great shape and seems to be, mentally in great shape as well, right? He's not losing train of thought in press conferences. I'm sure he could still coach out there, but why you'd want to come back and go through this rebuild? They're in a worse state they've been in a long, long time.
They spent a top 10 pick on a running back with the worst offensive line, and then decided they wanted to tape everything else. They wanted to use let's reunite the old Seahawks. Let's bring Geno in. Let's bring in Tyler Lockett. Let's just bring in everyone from over there and see if it works. And it didn't work. And now they have issues with Max Crosby. And so we'll hear from Adam Hill at some point this week, who covers the Raiders for ESPN Las Vegas and Las Vegas Review-Journal. And weekly I talk to him, part of our AFC West preview for the Central Bank pregame show, and it's just an endless litany of, I don't know what they're doing. Why are they doing this? This is terrible.
it never made sense in the first place to go out there and get Geno Smith and pay him the money they did. I get it that in the NFL you don't want to be the laughing stock where by week one you just know that roster is not going to be able to compete. I'm sure there was conversations in that front office of bringing Geno Smith, who's coming off of back-to-back good years in Seattle, get an explosive running back like Ashton Genty. But if you don't address the offensive line, I mean, we've seen here in Kansas City,
brutal offensive line.
When you have guys that are not up to par, you can't run anything, regardless of who your quarterback is.
No.
I mean, you have Patrick Mahomes running for his life, the majority of this season. I mean, I don't want to be too harsh on the offensive line, more so when guys really got banged up. That's when you saw him, running in ways that he did in his 2 Super Bowl losses against Tampa Bay and against Philadelphia. If you don't have a mobile quarterback, you don't have the offensive line, you don't have the playmakers, you can look like what the Raiders do right now. And that game on Sunday, yesterday, that to me looked like a team that said, okay, let's wrap this up. Vegas would not put out a 6.5-point spread in favor of the Chiefs with who they have available if they didn't feel like the Raiders have already mailed it in at this point.
I don't think the Raiders will allow themselves to win.
I feel they'd be stupid too, and that's unfortunate for the Chiefs because you feel if it was chalk, I believe, and everybody lost and needed to lose, and what's going to happen, I think the Chiefs would draft 9th.
The best they could get if everything goes right this week would be 8th. The worst could be 13th. That's what the Falcons winning some games. The Falcons win twice, Chiefs lose. And other 3 teams that were 6-10-ish, or 2 teams 6 and the Bengals, and I think the Saints also.
It's going to be somewhere in between.
It's very difficult. I mean, the best they could be was 8. They can't get to 7, and they can't go lower than 13.
For the 8th pick, the Chiefs need to lose. The Falcons have to beat the Rams tonight, and then the Saints have to beat them next Sunday.
Yeah,
and the Saints have been red hot. So the Saints are winners of 4 in a row, I think.
They got to thread a needle. By the way, there is something. Andy Reid is playing for something on Sunday. If he wins, he will move into sole possession for first place for the most coaching wins at Allegiant Stadium.
My goodness.
He will pass. This is according to Josh Dubois of the AP, who does great stuff. He's currently tied with Antonio Pierce and Josh McDaniels at 6.
And he's only lost twice, I believe, to the Raiders since taking over in Kansas City.
Yeah, and he hasn't lost there.
No, he lost in Oakland. Mm-hmm. It was one of the last games. I think it was their last time against the Chiefs in the Coliseum, I believe. No, it wasn't, because that was still an Alex Smith quarterback team. I think it was 2017.
But he's won every regular season game there, and he's also won a Super Bowl there. It's fantastic.
And what will be cool to see, if you do care about this stuff. I do care about this stuff. I thought it was pretty neat to see in Nashville the amount of Chiefs fans that either were already there and bought tickets to the game, but also made the trip. Now, Nashville and Vegas, they're cool places to go to and visit, so it's not like you are putting all your eggs in the basket of just the outcome of that game. But we've seen in years past, every time the Chiefs are playing at Allegiant Stadium, the entire place is red. Yeah. And when you have a game that's going to be quarterbacked likely by Kenny Pickett and Chris Oladokun, is it going to be all red again? If I was a Raiders fan in Vegas, I'm not, unless you're trying to protest the team.
Not the worst way to spend a New Year's Eve. If you're heading out there, hey, let's just do New Year's Eve in Vegas and hang around for the game, and let's just make it a weekend of it.
And it is still a rivalry game at the end of the day, and it is weird to think about. This is the last week until September where we're going to be previewing a Chiefs game, and it's the first time in a long time for you since 2014. And still going into that final week of the regular season, the Chiefs were competing for a spot. Yep. They needed a lot to go in their favor in that week, and they beat the Chargers on that day. But that's the last time that you've entered a week where this could be it, and really since 2012 where you entered a final game of the regular season, and there was
just knowing everything
was already decided other than draft position at that point. And the Chiefs that year did get the number 1 overall pick in 2013, and that would have been Fisher. So, if you're into draft position, who they could be taking, I know we'll be talking about mock draft stuff over the next couple of months. I don't know, though. It kind of, in a good way, once things went south, it's kind of sped on by. Like these last couple of weeks feel like they've really just been snowballing.
Yeah. Part of that's the holiday.
Yeah.
People aren't working some days. But, if they go out there and play young guys, we're going to see what we have in some of these guys. and they win just because the Raiders are so bad, that's one thing. What I don't want to see is them go out there. Andy Reid was asked today any starters that he thinks might not start. The only one he mentioned was Trey Smith. So if they go out there and they crank out the same starters they have every single week and they play 70% of the snaps, I don't. What are we doing? I mean, you're not servicing this year. You're not even servicing next year with the young players, and you're hurting yourself a couple, 2 or 3 spots potentially in the draft. I'm not saying go out there and try to lose, but at least go out there and try to do something for next year. And the best thing you can do for next year is, without losing, is to play some young players and see what they've got. So I'll be very curious to see what the snap counts are and the approach. If it's starters most of the way, there are going to be some pissed off Chiefs fans.
Yeah,
and they should be.
Well, because there's really at that point, unless you're just a football diehard, there's nothing exciting about this game.
No.
If you're seeing the same guys go out there that have been getting reps all season long.
Chris Oladokun is your quarterback.
Yes.
You have, and it's not his fault, but if Chris Oladokun is your quarterback, you have already relinquished we're doing the best possible situation to win. That's already out the door. Use that opportunity to find out what you've got for some guys when bullets are flying.
And I would say this, too. It's a bit harsh in some of the guys that can't get on the field, Jalen Royals, Jeff Bassa. If you're not going to play them in a game like this with as many injuries as they've had, well, then I don't really care about discussing them in training camp. I don't care about what they could be or what the ceiling is. And I get it. Your rebuttal could say, come on, they're a rookie, they're getting their feet wet. Well, there's going to be no better time for a rookie to get their feet wet than in a meaningless football game on the road against a division rival. If Jalen Royals can't get out there on Sunday and have 85% of the snaps, Juju Smith-Schuster the last 2 weeks has had over 90, I believe. If he can't get reps, then I'm not going into training camp next year saying, well, finally he's healthy and he's ready to go. Jalen Royals, for what we know, has been healthy since week 5, week 6? I know he was set back at the beginning. And if he's not healthy, that's a completely different thing. But we just haven't heard anything from the coaching staff of, well, he's still working his way back. It just seems like he can't get on the field for whether it be scheme reasons, he's not getting good enough separation. We don't really know, but that's where I feel we fall into this trap every single training camp. Yep. Kyle knows what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. Of some guy looks really flashy and really good in training camp. It's like, they let the Chiefs get this guy. I'm done doing that. I'm done doing that if you can't get on the field, whether that's a coaching thing or a player thing, because they're going to reload in the offseason. They are going to get Rice back healthy. They're going to have Worthy back, hopefully healthier than getting hurt in week 1 and then having that set him back a little bit. But Worthy, Rice, we'll wait and see with Travis Kelce. You're hoping they can reload the running back room a little bit more. I mean, there are going to be some free agent acquisitions, maybe trade acquisitions, and I'm just not going to waste my breath talking about who could be the number 5 option. And I like Jalen Royals a lot coming out of the draft. I thought that he had game-breaking speed. But when you are dwindled down to this, if there is any saving grace of this football team, where they're at, yes, number 1 is draft position. Number 2 would be, you go out there and Brashard Smith has 18 carries for 105 and a touchdown. Jalen Royals goes 5 for 55 and a touchdown. That at least can give you some warm feelings going into the offseason. Whereas if the Chiefs win 41-0 on Sunday and it's Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco having 30 carries total and Juju. I would love to see Kelce score because if this is it, I'd like for him to go out on a high note, great game at Allegiant Stadium. But what you need to see...
That's an extenuating circumstance, certainly. Yeah. Clearly.
We saw Brashard Smith get involved early on against Denver. That's a tough defense to go up against. The Raiders are not a tough defense. The Giants just hung 37 on them. And that was at home, too. So
it was at Vegas.
Yeah, at Vegas. So you have a team that went in there that's won 3 games and hang 37. So even with Chris Oladokun out there, I mean, this is the time to go and do it. But on the flip side, because I know everybody's instant reaction is, well, this is Andy Reid and Matt Nagy's fault. They're just being stubborn and not playing these guys. The other side to this, which we discussed last week, Curtis, is if they're not able to go out there, if they're screwing up plays and they're just not being as physically dominating as they need to be, it still is the NFL. And you're not just handed reps and starting reps for the fans to say, well, I want to see that guy out there. We don't know. We don't see them in practice every single day. I would love to say, go out there, and they do it because some coaches say, yeah, we do need to evaluate them. But there's obviously a reason they can't get out there.
I'd like to think there's some plausible reason, but if it's just that they're not as good as the players ahead of them, that to me isn't a good enough reason not to play.
No.
If the guy's not getting it, he's not going to get it by watching on the bench. He's going to get it by playing in the games. And if he's not going to get it by doing that, then why is he on the team? Is he going to get it in training camp or in OTAs?
And there's pressure there to make the team and get a spot on the depth chart, but that's why you can never fall victim to training camp hype, preseason hype. There was a week we talked about Jason Brownlee.
Yes.
Being a red zone target.
Robert
we do this.
Tonyan was a guy who was going to be big. Are you worried that Jalen Royals might run the wrong route and Chris Oladokun throws a pick six? Who cares?
You shouldn't be.
You at least know what Jalen Royals can do, and you can look at your off season and going into next year and think, well, we can't count on this guy yet, or he still has some work. And there's no better proving ground for a player than an actual NFL game. You've got a free one. You've got a free one staring you right in the face.
It's a preseason game.
And to not use it to me is someone come up with your best reason for starting veterans who aren't going to be here over young players who will. And I'll listen, but it better be good, because I haven't heard one yet.
And maybe that's just the way that Andy Reid, Matt Nagy, and the coaching staff, they do business. It's, you're not getting on my field if you can't run the proper routes. And so that's where you kind of can place blame at a lot of people's feet, because here's what I feel we haven't discussed enough. Jalen Royals was a day 2 pick. Jalen Royals is not some undrafted free agent that popped in training camp, and now it's like, well, let's see if he can do it, right? Or if Nico Remigio wasn't just your special team guy, your punt returner, your kick returner, it'd be a game where, hey, let's see what he can do as our gadget guy. Mm-hmm. It's still Nico Remigio, where he's worked his ass off to get where he is. Jalen Royals might be a good receiver for the Chiefs. And yes, they need to figure that out. But it's alarming to me that, considering the circumstances, considering that Rashee Rice is not going to be out there. I mean, I would not push back if they held out Worthy too and just said, this is a time where Travis Kelce's going to be the only guy on offense that we give 100% of the snaps to. And it can be his call too. It can be Kelce saying, "Yeah, I want to play every down."
Yeah,
or I want to play.
Will.
Yeah,
especially if he thinks this is his last game. He's not going to want to spend any time on the sideline. He's going to want to get every drop he can.
I mean
drop of the game, not drop of the ball.
Hopefully not a career high in drops for a single game. I get where everyone is coming from, where it is you might as well. But we've watched Andy Reid coach long enough where we have our ideas of what a rookie can be. And they've always said it's hard for rookies to get involved in the offense because it's a complex offense. There's a lot to it. And if you are lost out there, it kind of goes back to coaching 101, where when we've all played sports at whatever level it would be, pee-wee, high school, college, the professional level, and we can probably get Tim Grunhardt's thoughts on this, though he was an offensive lineman. You have to know your spot.
I don't know how many times Timmy played a game where his team wasn't
where he didn't
in the playoff spot. I mean, they were in it every year, essentially, that he was there, except for one.
It's frustrating because you want them to succeed.
Yeah.
But I don't watch Jalen Royals practice every single day. And if your coach saw you lost it and you can't pick up the plays and you're hurting their efforts in moving the ball, well, then who is it on? Is it on the coaches can't coach him? Is he an uncoachable player? Or was it just the wrong fit?
Bad pick.
I've watched now this is to a different extent, but Sky Moore in San Francisco, right? And returning punts. And he has clearly found a new home. And now this could be the simple and easy answer of he got a fresh start. Whereas Sky Moore in Kansas City became this taboo name almost of, oh, no drop passes, fumbled punts, and this and that. Whereas San Francisco, they don't know him as well as Chiefs fans knew him. And so sometimes that fresh start, you have the pressure fall off your shoulders, you can succeed in that environment. And so that's where I go with a guy like Sky Moore, couldn't get on the field, or at least they tried him a few times and it didn't work out.
Yeah.
Is that the player, the scheme, or the coach? With Jalen Royals, Bashard Smith, Jeff Bossa, guys you want to see more of, guys you want to see get 100% of the reps. Well, then what is? I would love to hear, they're banged up, and they're not in the type of shape we need them to be in. Or they're never going to throw a player under the bus and say they don't know the playbook, they can't figure it out because it's the last regular season game.
Yeah, well, here's the thing, though. If young players are healthy and they aren't playing on Sunday, you can say it's on that guy because he's not ready. Mm-hmm. But it's not on just him.
No, it
because
can't
why
be.
isn't he ready? Either he's not being coached properly enough, he's not being handled properly enough, or it was a bad pick. As much as you want to pile on that player, somebody else has to take the blame for it as well. It can't just be him. Why isn't he ready to play? Why isn't a day 2 wide receiver in week 18 not able to be on the field for 50 snaps in a game? Someone needs to answer that question.
And maybe
not to us, but somebody in that organization needs to figure out why this guy can't find the field in a meaningless game.
And even more alarming, guys, is it's not just this year's class, it's last year too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Jared Wiley can't seem to find the field. We saw Mike Edwards getting snaps over Jaden Hicks, and it's probably somebody else I'm forgetting. But what raises the alarm there is that there's a problem in your draft sequence, your process there. You are not selecting the right guys or not doing your thorough review and research on these guys properly.
Well, then you get to, which side of the ball is it? Because I know, Kyle brings up the great point. You got Jared Wiley, a tight end, and then you get Jaden Hicks, a safety. Well, I saw Noah Williams, who is, if Josh Simmons was healthy all year long and was active for every single game, he would have been the best draft pick they had. And go figure, it's their first-round selection.
Yeah.
I think after that, you have a really strong case for Noah Williams. And so I look at a guy like Noah Williams and say, this seems to happen for the Chiefs every single year. They find some physical cornerback with long arms and can run, and they get a ton of value out of him. They even got value out of someone like Josh Williams in his first year, and then he regressed after that. But L'Jarius Sneed, Jalen Watson, McDuffie's a first-round pick, but they developed that side of the ball really well, especially in the secondary. I think Jaden Hicks, maybe a few steps back, but he really popped in his first year and grew as the season went on. I find it so hard to believe that offensively, with who is to be called one of the greatest offensive minds of all time, I'm not saying it's never happened before. I thought Rashee Rice, the way he progressed in year one, what we saw from Worthy last year progressed in year one, but why it's become difficult for some of those guys to really come into their own. And that's why I go, well, is it the blame of it's not coaching? Well, they've done it before, so is it the player, or is it the coach, or is it the scheme? And that's what I'm struggling to come up with. I want to see Jalen Royals or Bashard Smith have a career game on Sunday. Even though this game doesn't matter, and you could chalk it up as, what pressure are they dealing with? It's the Raiders in the final game of the regular season, where the Chiefs are 6-10 and the Raiders are 2-14 or whatever they are. But if he does that and goes 6-4 for 75 and a touchdown, well, then I would really have to ask, what was it? Why? Why with Chris Owodokin? I don't care that it's the Raiders, because that is one excuse to make of, it's the Raiders. The Chiefs have played some poor defenses before this year.
It would also be catching passes from a quarterback who's had one NFL start, and it was on 3 days rest.
And again, it's such an interesting thing to dive into. And phone lines are open, 913-381-0810. We got two on the line wanting to talk about these young guys. We get frustrated. The last 2 weeks we've been frustrated of, you see Bashard Smith get his first NFL touchdown. Never heard his name again after that. Now, I'm sure he was out there and took some snaps, but nothing was really dialed up for him other than that 3rd and 2, little flip pass they had, or little, it wasn't even a wheel route exactly. It was more of a pop pass, and it got blown up. It was never close to being a first down. And with Royals, you ran out there, I think, at 3 snaps it was. Maybe you ran a route or 2. I didn't really do the deep dive on the film. But again, you're not talking about somebody that's a long shot to succeed in the NFL. We've seen a lot of 4th-round picks or 5th-round picks shine and be, a 600-yard receiver. Or some guys, can be a Pro Bowler from that. And that's why I don't want to fall back on, he's a young guy. He needs time to develop. That's fine. But you can't almost prop him up. And the injury did set things back there. Well, I can fully acknowledge that injuries can sometimes, even if they get healthy, it derails them. Because you go through training camp, preseason, regular season, your body's conditioned a certain way. And if you have an injury, it sets you back to square one, and you got to get built up again, and then you got to jump into game action. It's not as easy as everybody makes it seem. But that's where I go, if you're going to take him, and it's this, I cannot believe Jalen Royals fell to the Chiefs, and now when healthy, in games like this, you can't even get out there, somebody does have to fall on the sword of it. Because, you're seeing somebody like Sky Moore go elsewhere, and he just could not make it work. Now, to me, it was more so in the special team. Sky Moore's not out there, putting together 80-yard games or multiple touchdown games, but he has shined when it comes to returning punts, being a kick returner, and why it was almost so mental for him in Kansas City. Like, is that a Sky Moore thing, or is that a Dave Tobe thing? And when it comes to Brashard Smith in the running back room, or Pacheco, like, do we put the blame on Pacheco of, he's just not a good enough back, bad vision? But Pacheco also had a near 1,000-yard season in 2023, so was it the injury that took everything away of what he could have been?
Part of it.
Or is it that they're just not coaching some of these guys properly? I don't know. I mean, you can look at it both ways.
Or because he was a 7th-round pick.
Yes.
For a reason, and they need to invest more in that running back position, which they have not done. That's a bee in my bonnet. Yeah,
that's been a big issue is, and we'll talk to Trent Green about this. We'll definitely talk to Tim Grunhard about this. You get this, and this was anything in life. You do something that's unconventional, and it works. You develop that ego of, I can do this. Yeah, we can do this every single time. I mean, Andy Reid, he had the years with Brian Westbrook and LaShawn McCoy and had a year or two of Jamal Charles, but the bulk of this time, Jarkandrick West, Spencer Ware, you've got Darrell Williams, Damian Williams,
the one
Jerick
McKinnon actually had some juice. McKinnon did to a degree.
And with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, this is where, when it comes to the running back situation, I wonder if, quote-unquote, hitting for 1 or 2 years of Isaiah Pacheco as a 7th rounder, getting value out of Ware and West, and then having that first-round pick on Clyde Edwards-Helaire, where I think, going back to the injury point, was it the coaching down the road, or was that an injury really did derail the rest of his time in Kansas City? I know he came back, but for that first stint with the Chiefs, does it make things easier with the 9th or 10th pick to go, a lot of these issues that we talk about, young guys and misses on draft picks, does it just solve itself, Kurtis, if they go out there with this 9th or 10th pick and take somebody that can be that impact guy? I mean, when the Chiefs have had impact guys in the first round, you're not always as overly critical about the day 2 and day 3 guys because the day 1 guy is such a game changer.
Yeah.
And where the last couple of years, Josh Simmons, I believe, is going to be a great left tackle. But because he wasn't as healthy this year and he did miss time, you're then forced to look at day 2 and day 3. Mm-hmm. And Gelati, where's he been? Omar Norman Lott got hurt. But maybe he could have been something. But you go down the line here, and other than Noah Williams, there's a lot of, why can't this guy get out there on the field? So I would say for the most part that looking at this draft class and looking at what you need, whether it be a damn edge rusher, whether it be a running back, he's got to be one of the lands of the draft. Because then it just takes the pressure off these other guys.
And also, if this better be the last time in a while that you pick in the top 10.
Absolutely.
If this is the idea that if number 9 overall doesn't make it, you'll get it back next year. You better not be at 9 next year.
No,
because the years with 15 are running out. So this is a rare opportunity that they have to get some fairly inexpensive talent that's high level and ready to go. They need to hit a home run. This is the biggest draft I think Brett Veach has maybe had since he's been here. I mean, since the Mahomes draft, which really was, wasn't his.
And you still had Alex Smith at the time.
But, this is big because the next 5 years, the remainder of Patrick Mahomes' career, what it's going to be is going to be determined by what happens starting next Tuesday.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can both agree on that. You want to see the reps for these guys, the young guys, and having some confidence going in the offseason. I'll tell you this, though, that whoever they take in day 2 or day 3 in 2026, as long as that top 15 pick hits, and they are somebody that can make an impact immediately, I can give some of these other guys time. But when you don't have the constant hits in the first round. Now, the last couple, I can give a pass because when you're drafting 31st and 32nd every single year, you're basically getting a second-round pick.
Give a little bit of a pass.
Just a slight pass there. But when you're drafting 9th, 10th, or 11th, that guy cannot be a miss. And I think Brett Veach knows that. The entire front office and coaching staff know that. And I'm sure some of you that are waiting on the phone lines know that as well. Let's do this. Take a quick break. When we come back, we'll get to your thoughts on Sunday's game and whether the Chiefs should give some of these guys the reps against their division rival in Las Vegas. You're listening to the program on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Back here on the program on Sports Radio 810 WHB, I'm your host, Jack Johnson, filling in for Seren Petro. Kurtis Seaboldt right in front of me. So is Kyle Collier. We appreciate everybody's patience on the phone lines. Know you got thoughts on the Chiefs playing or not playing their young guys on Sunday against the Las Vegas Raiders. So let's kick things off here with Robert. Robert, you're on the program. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is a little bit tongue-in-cheek with a lot of bit of cynicism. But I was thinking about in the Titans game when the young guys did not play. Afterwards, I was like, why wouldn't they play? What is the reason for this? And I was thinking to myself, if Brashard Smith had had like 12, 15 carries and actually broke a couple for maybe take one to the house, another long gain, people would have been asking, why wasn't this guy on the field with Mahomes, taking a little bit of, heat off of Mahomes in terms of, the defense was just pinning their ears back and coming after the quarterback and thinking about the run game on the way to the quarterback. And would that have made the coaching staff look like they completely missed an opportunity during the regular season to actually help out when it still mattered? And, yeah, as far as Royals and Bassa, maybe they could flash a little bit, raise same type of questions. And once again, there's a little bit tongue-in-cheek. But if these guys had showed out in the last 3 games, everybody would have been asking, where were they when Mahomes was healthy?
Yeah, that's a great point, Robert. I would say that when it comes to Brashard Smith, I'm not sure they ever, when we watch him in the backfield, and you're always thinking to yourself, man, I'd love to get him involved in a screenplay. I'd love for him to get a toss, but there were so many times the run plays designed for Brashard Smith were not run plays that should be set up for a 5'8", 9, 200-pound running back.
No. And there's been a lot of issues, and we've heard Seth Kaiser talk about it at length, and we'll talk to him. Maybe we won't on when's this is short day. Whoa.
Not this week.
No, Seth. Oh, that hurts. There's a lot of misutilization of particular skill sets on offense, whether it's the wide receivers or the running backs. There really has been a disconnect between what they can do and what they're asked to do. And it's kind of been that way all year long. And what if you look back and see that, has it been that way for the last 3 years? It was just papered over because they got the plays done. Pat was Pat, and they overcame it. But it really looks this year, you see guys going, he can't run that play.
No.
Why is he running that play? That's not his specialty. Why is he doing this? Quit asking people to do things they can't do.
And to Robert's point, if the Chiefs are scared to play these guys because they're somehow afraid that they'll make them look stupid, then you're just coaching scared.
Yeah.
And that's nothing any Chiefs fan wants to hear.
You're not going to look smart. See, if you go out and play a guy.
See, we played them and they suck.
See, we're smart. But why does he suck? There's no way to admit that's going to suddenly make their early decision. Brilliant.
Brashard Smith, when they took him in the draft, everybody's drooling over it because he was a wide receiver turned running back. It's like a pass-catching gadget guy in the 7th round with some decent speed.
Yeah.
And I thought at times you'd design a run for him, and it was a play that should be designed for Kareem Hunt because Kareem Hunt is just built like a brick house, and he can roll over somebody or just bowl over them at the point of contact. That's not Brashard Smith's game, and it certainly wasn't at SMU. No. And for these other guys that can't get on the field, then, I don't know if it's the plays that are designed for them. They can't be explosive enough on him, but I feel like they have made it work with guys that it didn't work for them elsewhere. Justin Watson, I thought, is a decent example of it didn't work with Tom Brady in Tampa Bay, but you somehow designed plays for him in Kansas City where it's a decent career, a decent little time here with Patrick Mahomes. So don't tell me you can't do it or this player is incapable of doing it.
And enough with the guys who can do one thing, the gadget. That's kind of what Xavier Worthy is to a degree. Go get wide receivers. What can this guy do? He can get open. Like the Moneyball. What does he do? He gets on base. What does he do? He gets open and catches the ball. Does he have blazing speed? No. Can he run jet sweeps? Can he do this or that in the offense? I don't know. Maybe not that great. Does he get open? If the answer is yes, go get him.
Yeah.
Can he run the ball? If the answer is yes, go get him. When you look, it's kind of hard to hold someone too accountable for missing getting the wrong 7th round running back, but the Bears guy is,
Kyle Monangai.
Yeah, Monangai, who was taken
From Rutgers, too.
five
Seventh
spots
rounder.
later in his almost 800 yards rushing this year. And meanwhile, you've got a guy who sometimes he's a running back, sometimes he's not, sometimes he's on the kick team. Get players.
Yeah.
And I think far too often they look at a specific type of thing they want to do in the offense. Let's go get a guy who can do that. Go get a guy who can play.
Yeah. They've been so against the last couple of years, and really in Patrick Mahomes' time, they don't want the big-bodied 6'3", 6'4" guy that can high point the ball and can out-physical a cornerback where, yeah, if you got the guys who have game-breaking speed, that's fine. I like the speed, I like the agility, I like the footwork, but if you can't out-physical somebody, you're going to run into a cornerback that can overwhelm you. And we've seen that far too often this year where you push a receiver toward the sideline, they can't work back to the ball. Where if you have someone who's 6'3", 6'4", look how it's worked for some of the top guys out there in this league. They can work back to the ball, or they're just such a dominant presence that a cornerback's going to have to hold them over and over and over again.
You got a guy like Xavier Worthy who can't beat man coverage frequently enough and isn't designed for zone coverage because he doesn't know where to go. And I'm telling you, there's a very high likelihood, I don't know what the number is, but it's over 25%, that when we look back 5 years from now as to where this passing offense could have made a step or continued to move along and didn't, it's going to be Xavier Worthy over Ladd McConkey.
Interesting.
Because people look at Ladd McConkey, well, does he fit the Chiefs' offense? He fits any offense.
Great
Because he gets open.
Yep.
What's he do? He gets on base. He gets open. And I just got this feeling that, and we're going to see him twice a year for the foreseeable future. Worthy over McConkey is going to be one of those picks that's going to be hung around unless other things happen. There's an opportunity they can do something that makes his pick, that choice, not as glaring. But right now, it's got the opportunity to be a major issue over the next 5 years.
And he's not blindingly fast or that physically dominant either. He's just an excellent route runner, and Justin Herbert makes it work with him.
He just always catches the ball with no one within a couple of yards from him. He doesn't have someone draped over him on every single play.
It reminds me a lot of, I'm not going to anoint him Wes Welker just yet, but it reminds you a lot where every time Brady threw the ball or Peyton Manning threw the ball, he's open 8 to 9 yards down the field. Let's also get to Eric's thoughts here. Eric, you're on the program. Go ahead.
Thanks for taking my call. I do appreciate it. Long-time listener, first-time caller. One of the things, 100% agree with all of that. And I definitely agree with the evaluation of what we have with some of our rookies. I think we need to look out in the offseason. Our position coaches, I think we have some of them playing out of place. But one of the things that I don't think you're talking about is in incentivized contracts of some of the veterans that we signed to the short-term deals. Like, you want to be able to offer guys at lower costs that you're going to bring in besides the rookie and the high-price guys that you're already paying. You put the incentives in the contracts, and if you're a team that's not meeting those in situations, especially now, and we saw it a couple of years ago when they put Chris Jones on the field to get that sack or that play that got him the extra money, I think you're seeing some of those deals go down because I just think that's the type of guy Andy is, that he's going to look out after the veterans and try to make sure, well, the season's a loss, but let's try to get the players, at least some of the free agent players that we signed, some of the money that they can get. And that's all I wanted to say, and I'll listen off air. Thanks.
No, appreciate it, Eric. Yeah, that's going to be a part of this, too, is there might be somebody who needs an extra catch or two or needs an extra sack or two, and they'd be able to get that bonus. And I feel that Andy Reid and his coaching staff are players' coaches, and they're going to give them the opportunity. But at some point, if you have somebody that needs 2.5 to 3 sacks in this game, I look at what they've done this year. The likelihood of that happening, is it worth it over playing? Boss is a different position here. He's not, of course, lining up, up front. But are you willing to, if it was Juju and he needs 9 catches to get this done? Well, Juju hasn't had more than 5 catches in the last 10 to 15 weeks. I'd have to pull up the box score to know how many times he's actually hauled in more than 5 in a game. That's where you can play the realistic part of this and go, is it worth it to play him 100% of these snaps to get the little extra bonus, or would we rather put Jalen Royals out there? I guess you can have the answer any way you want to. Everybody's going to have a different opinion on it. Lastly, let's get to Jerry here before we take our final break of hour number 1. Jerry, you're on the program. Go ahead.
I appreciate you taking my call. Happy Moral Victory Monday. I'm hoping to find my moral victory today. Question. My brother said he heard Gronkowski say something about Travis wasn't going to be wearing a Chiefs jersey next year. I figured if I see Travis Kelce playing in the game and playing to win for the team, then I think he's probably going to hang it up this year. If he doesn't play, then maybe he might come back. And to anybody that's angry in St. Joe about the Chiefs moving in the next 5 years, I'm not sure. Maybe you guys will know. It's been a while since I drove down there, but it's going to be closer to St. Joe than it is right now to travel to Arrowhead. I think I-29 to 435 to I-70, west. I think that's a lot closer than it is going all the way down near Worlds of Fun or wherever. But I don't know. I don't have much to add, but I appreciate you taking my call. That's all. That's on my mind.
I appreciate the stuff there, Jerry. I would say real quickly before we hit our break, more so about the Travis Kelce thing. Yeah, and this is it. I did see those rumblings of, would he look into free agency and maybe no. I don't think he's going to play anywhere else. This is either it for him or he'll give it one more shot in Kansas City with the Chiefs. I'd love to see it, but also it's his decision, and if he does call it quits, I got nothing negative to say about number 87. Let's take a quick break. You're listening to the program on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
The program with Soren Petro.
Who knew this was just going to be a fat old man turning into a giddy little child? Oh, yay.
Weekdays from 2 to 6 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
It doesn't matter what event you're looking to see. Maybe you're headed for some college hoops. Allen Fieldhouse, Mizzou Arena, Bramlage Coliseum. That's right. Tickets for Less has you covered. And you can always save when you use the promo code 810. That's right. Use promo code 810 when you check out at ticketsforless.com, and you will save even more. It's always a great time to buy. Early on the Royals tickets, sure. Get the best seats right now at the best prices for your Royals games, home and away. Plan a road trip. Tickets for Less has got you covered for road games as well. Concerts at the new Morton Amphitheater. Big events like Country Stampede. It doesn't matter. Get your tickets now at ticketsforless.com. And don't forget that promo code. It's 810. It saves you even more when you check out at ticketsforless.com. That's ticketsforless.com.
Red Monday is brought to you by Greenlight Dispensary, the unofficial sponsor of Kansas City's favorite football team. Make the switch to Greenlight for unmatched first-time customer benefits and the best voted loyalty program in Missouri. The best cannabis deals always at greenlightdispensary.com.
It's cold out there, and if you spent last winter thinking it was time for new windows, it's good you waited. Because right now, during Window Nation's end-of-year sale, get 50% off, plus you could get 0% interest for 5 years. That's on windows that stop those cold, wintry drafts, seal out moisture, and are so energy efficient, you'll save money on your monthly utility.
Wrapping up hour number 1 of the program on Sports Radio 810 WHB. I'm your host, Jack Johnson, filling in for Soren Petro. Kurtis Seaboldt here. Kyle Collier's producing this thing. Joining us to kick off hour number 3 will be Tim Grunhard. Going to have to get his thoughts on the young guy debate, getting these guys available, getting these guys reps. What have you got to lose at this point? We'll also have the 2-minute drill, and right at the 2-minute drill, we'll talk with Todd Lebo. Want to get his thoughts, too, on the Missouri-Virginia bowl game, because we pretty much are NFL dominant here for the first 2 hours. We also have Trent Green in the 5 o'clock hour. Still a loaded show for you here on a Monday on the program on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Jack is everywhere. How many teams have won 5 straight divisions without a Super Bowl appearance?
Hour number 2 of the program on Sports Radio 810 WHB. I am your host, Jack Johnson, filling in for Soren Petro. Kurtis Seaboldt's here. Kyle Collier's producing. And as you just heard, and as he always does, we are joined by Tim Grunhard. Tim, how are we doing this afternoon?
I'm doing great. I got a message from my old trainer with the Chiefs, who was there all 11 years with me and did a great job of patching me up and getting me back into the action. Dave Kendall, and he said, "Hey, it's Raider Week." And that was a special week for us. We, under Marty Schottenheimer especially, when you walked in, there'd be banners walking down the tunnel into Arrowhead Stadium from the parking lot into where we went to our, meetings and, got dressed for practice and had lunch. And, we did everything in Arrowhead. So there would be banners up and there'd be signs up everywhere. Raider Week, he made it a big, big deal. And I know that the Chiefs right now are kind of, looking to end the season. But it is still Raider Week, so this is still an important week and a special week for Kansas City Chiefs, Kansas City Chief fans, and it should be for the players.
Is it one of those things nowadays? Because obviously back when you played, you could really put so much emphasis on the rivalry between the Chiefs and the Raiders and the Chiefs and the Broncos, whereas last couple of years it's felt that it's shifted to more of the Bills, and then it was the Bengals, of these teams you were meeting against or meeting with in the AFC Championship game. But now, for a game like this, the Raiders, they're 2-14, the Chiefs are 6-10. Now where either of these teams want to be, but being a former player yourself, showing up each and every week, is there still that Raider hatred, here in 2025?
Well, we were taught. So it's kind of passed down through generations. So, in the 70s and 80s, the Raider rivalry was huge. And, the cheap shot on Lenny Dawson and the fight between Bill Moss and the whole offensive line for the Raiders in the mid-'80s and going up against Howie Long and the Al Davis, walking the sidelines with his jumpsuit on and his horned glasses staring you down. So that was important to us. And I'm not sure if this generation of player, or this generation of Chief player, appreciates or passes down the rivalry. Hatred is a little bit of a strong word, but just that rivalry and that hey, we want to beat the Raiders. And I'm not sure if that is talked about as much in the locker room because of recent history. The Raiders really haven't been that good, and we kind of knocked that rivalry off the shelf a little bit per se. In the 90s, I think we only lost to them 2 or 3 times in the whole decade of the 90s. So, in a rivalry, obviously, you have to have competitive games in order to keep that rivalry up. It reminds me a little bit of the KU K-State. I think it's a huge rivalry still. I think if you're a KU person, you probably think it's a huge rivalry. But if you're a K-State person, in football especially, do you think it's a huge rivalry anymore? I don't know. So,
yeah.
But I think rivalries are passed down.
18-3 the first 9, your first 10 years with the Chiefs.
Yeah. So
lost at LA in '92, lost there in '96, and then lost there in '98.
Right. Yeah. I think in '92 is when I hurt my foot and I didn't play in that game. And I watched the first half, and I just couldn't watch it anymore. I think I turned on like
brutal
the Flintstones or something. I was
that was
screw it. I'm not watching.
That was
this
the
anymore.
streak that Gunther was yelling at the crowd. That's about 20 in a row for you guys.
But
his inner Nick Sirianni.
Yeah, so hey, listen, it's Raider Week, and I get it. We're all kind of worn out of this season. It's been a tough season, both. Emotionally and just with all this stuff going on with the move over to Arrowhead and it's just been a tough month and a half for Chief fans and the Chief Nation and Chief Kingdom, whatever they call it now. But it'd be nice to go out on a win against the Raiders and, take a stepping stone. And I was listening to you guys talking about younger players, and this is a great opportunity for these younger players to go out there and play on a big stage at 325 on a Sunday afternoon and out in Vegas and show what they can do.
Only year I think would have been where was 96 might have been when you went to in the final game of the season, maybe again in 98 where you went into a game like this where you were playing for pride, there was nothing left. If you were a player who you knew was coming back, how would you want your team to use the personnel in this game. Hey, if we don't see some of these young guys who can help us out, and win or lose, when you get on the field, you do whatever you can to win. But you do want to see some guys next year. Would you want to be surrounded by a bunch of guys that are on their way out that don't really have any piece of the future?
Well, as a player, you want to win.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just start with that premise. As a player, you want to win. You want to finish out with a good taste in your mouth, propel you into the offseason. You never want to leave after a loss. You never want to retire going into a loss, which I did. The last game I played in 2000 in Atlanta, we lost that game, and it really, it didn't affect my whole 11 years of playing for the Kansas City Chiefs, but certainly something I remember.
For sure.
The last game I played, we lost. I remember where it was. I remember who I talked to after the game. I remember, my brother was there, and his wife was there, and I had some friends down there, and it was tough. And I knew I was going to retire. I was about 90% positive, probably sitting where Travis is sitting right now. And I'm sure that Travis, if you'd ask him, hey, listen, especially playing against the Raiders, I want to win this game. And then if you ask him in the next breath, do you want young guys to go out there and play, which, might put you in peril of winning that game? That's a good question. I think as a guy like Travis Kelce, and I think I probably would have felt the same way, I want to see the health and the best for this organization and for this team and for the players that are going to be here next year. So I'd like to see some of the younger guys play. Yeah. Now, if that meant that I wasn't going to play, I'm not sure if I would have been real happy about that.
And it's a hard needle to thread because you don't want to ask, you can't ask someone who plays any professional sport, much less football, hey, it's better for you guys if you lose this game because you get a draft pick, three draft picks higher. You can't do that.
No,
it's impossible. It's not in your DNA. But ideally, it would be, well, let's look at some young players and win. Or fans would like to say, hey, let's a lot of the fans would just like, hey, they want that number 8 or number 9 draft pick instead of 13 or 12 or 13.
Yeah,
it's almost impossible to draw a straight line between where you are and what you want to happen because you really can't serve two things at the same time. But it is a tough spot to be in. As far as what you'd want your team to do.
So are we talking about young guys? Who do we want to see play? Obviously, we've seen Gelati play a bunch. I think he's played pretty well.
Yeah, he's flashed some plays. He's been on the back end of plays where he didn't get credit for it. He forced somebody up into another sack.
I think Noel Williams has played nice.
Yeah.
I mean, he's showed up in the last couple weeks. You got was it Pole? Is that how you say his name?
Pole. Yeah.
He's played well. He's gotten some experience. Is it like guys like Wiley, Royal? Who are we looking for?
The three guys we think about the most have been Brashard Smith, Jalen Royals, and Jeffrey Bassa.
So if it was Brashard Smith, you'd want to see him the feature back and just say, give him the ball 15, 20 times to see what he can do.
What do you envision him?
He may get smashed.
Yeah, he might. But then But Andy, what do you see him as being? Have him do whatever you think his potential is to be. Have him be that on Sunday. Jalen Royals, whatever you see, how do you envision him in this offense? Have him do that as much as he can on Sunday. Jeffrey Bassa, what's he going to do in Spags' scheme? Mm-hmm. Have him do that on Sunday. Let's see what they can get in an actual game atmosphere. They might surprise you.
It might be interesting
good or bad
for somebody over at 810 to go. I know they have some press conferences this week and maybe talk to some players. And ask the coaches over there and say, listen, is there any merit in...
No pun intended.
Yeah. Yeah, very good. There you go. Is there any merit in devising a game plan to take advantage and see what these young guys can do? Make them the focal point of your game plan. So, if it's Brashard Smith, what does he run well? What does he do well? What would you envision him being if he was your starting running back?
Yeah, run some Brashard Smith plays and see what happens.
Royal, how about dressing him, getting him on the field? He's had 0 targets. Has he played any place? Has there been a sighting on the field?
He had 3 snaps against Denver.
Okay.
I don't remember that. I don't remember a single route.
I know he has no targets.
Yeah.
No, he has not been targeted yet.
Right.
I'm curious too if some of this in playing Juju Smith-Schuster, playing the veteran guys, the older guys, comes down to a true audition and evaluation for Oladokun. Because if there's a chance that Mahomes is not ready to go week 1, and you go into the offseason saying, hey, we've been pretty impressed with what Oladokun gave us in the 2 games he started, or if you want to include 2.5 because the Titans game in the second half and how he looked, is it we want to put him in the best possible position to shine, learn this offense, rather than let's throw him out there with Royals as the 1, Brashard is the number 1 running back, Wiley is the number 2 tight end behind Kelsey, because we know Kelsey's going to be getting a lot of snaps on Sunday. I wonder if it is that, if you were to truthfully ask the coaching staff of, if there's anything we can gain in these final 3 weeks, it's seeing if Chris Oladokun can be the backup quarterback. Because if he can, then you have somebody that knows the system, has started games for him, and is a bit of a dual threat guy. I think that's what they haven't had in the last couple of years with Patrick Mahomes and his backups. Carson Wentz was not really a dual threat. Chad Henne, not a dual threat, even though he had the incredible run against the Browns in the 21 playoffs. Matt Moore was not a dual threat quarterback. And, if Oladokun goes out there on Sunday and he's 18 of 25 for $185, 2 touchdowns, and has 30 rushing yards, I don't know. I mean, it's still the Raiders, but is that maybe a reason for them to say, we would rather give Chris Oladokun the best chance to win than say, hey, kid, we know you're not very experienced at the NFL level. Let's put a bunch of other guys around you that also aren't as experienced.
Yeah, and there's also some guys out there, and don't underestimate the power of this. In their contracts, they have money that they can make. I'm giving you, for example, Hollywood Brown. If he scores a touchdown this weekend, he wins $200. He doesn't win. He's awarded. He's awarded $250,000. If he scores 2, he gets $500,000. If he has over 102 yards in receiving, he gets almost $625,000 bonus. So a lot of these guys are saying, "Hey, listen, we want to go out there because this is in our contract. We want to make some, bonus money, and don't be thinking about playing these young guys in front of me, So that could certainly weigh into, you put a guy on a contract, and now you say, hey, listen, we're not going to play you because we want to see what the young guys could do. And in the back of their mind, they're saying, hey, screw you. Yeah. I can make $600,000 if I have over 100 yards receiving. Who was it yesterday in the game? It was Robinson from the Giants. He needed 100 yards or something to get his big bonus. And you don't think they knew that?
Oh yeah.
I mean, every other throw was a slant against the Raiders. And he in the first half he got it, and he took the ball and he ran off and he threw it to somebody because he knew he was getting that bonus. So there's the fine line. And I didn't really think about that until you started talking about with the older guys and then the younger guys and that relationship and hey, let these guys grow, let these guys learn, let these guys get some reps. But there's some guys out there that are playing for their incentive bonuses. And that could be interesting, too, because then, you know what, and you say, well, who gives a rat's ass what Hollywood Brown says? He may not be here next year, but I will promise you this. Hollywood Brown's going to tell every free agent that comes into Kansas City that, hey, you know what, at the end, I had a chance to make another $600,000, $700,000, and they benched me.
Yes, that's one of those things that it's easy to look at that and say, well, would you care more about Hollywood Brown getting the $600,000 than you do about the future of your team? Well, that is the future of your team. Because if you get the rep of being a team that hey, if you're close, man, they'll shut you down. You don't want to be that team, even if it's a in a circumstance like that. So there is some value to it.
Yeah, so it's really interesting about these younger guys. I would like to see the younger guys go out there and play and see what they can do and give them an opportunity to go and perform. And the other thing, on a side note with Patrick Mahomes, I'm concerned. And I'm concerned because I think we're all we're all so excited about the news that he's out there and he's rehabbing really hard. You can't force those kind of things. It's not like you're going and, hey, listen, I could bench 315, but I'm going to work really hard and get up to about 375 this offseason and, get myself stronger and all that. These things heal when they want to heal. You cannot force it to heal. It's going to take time. They take between 9 and 12 months, and it doesn't matter how hard you work for this first 6 months. Now, obviously, the harder you work, the more strength you're going to get, and it's probably going to heal a little bit faster. But the reality is that thing's going to heal on its own. Believe me, as I sit here with another shoulder replacement, And, so going through these things, I'm just telling you, you can't force them. You can try to do everything you possibly can to get yourself ready and get going. But I just, on a side note, Patrick, if you're listening, man, just make sure that you're doing everything to the standard of what the doctor's asking. You cannot speed up the process.
Yeah.
If you speed up the process, that's when you're going to skip a step, or you're not going to let it heal completely, or you're going to force something, and that's when you really screw it up. So just take your time. And I'm hoping and praying that he could play in the first game. But I almost, if I was a Chief, say, listen, don't even think about playing the first game. We're not even going to let you get out there on the field until maybe the second, third, or fourth game. Maybe after the first quarter of the season or halfway through the first quarter of the season. So don't push it. Just let it heal. Let it get right, and then we'll go from there. Because I know in Patrick, he's so competitive because he's
he's a competitive
prick.
Yes.
And the competitive prick in him is going to want to say, I could beat this. I could do this. I could muscle my way through this.
And
I could force my way into this. And
Yeah.
guess what? That's when you screw him up.
And that's where his training staff, and if it's Bobby Stroop or whoever is kind of monitoring this, they really have to be able to hold him. And I think he's been around the block long enough to know that he has to listen to these guys. But they're really going to have to monitor him, because you're right. I could easily see a situation where he's like, one, I'm coming off an ACL. We didn't make the playoffs. Everyone thinks the run is over for us.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the personal motivation and emotional energy he's going to put into getting back is going to be like something he's never experienced before. There may have never been a quarterback more motivated to return to glory than Patrick Mahomes after this ACL.
You got to protect players.
Yes, it's responsible for everyone around him to make sure he didn't hurt himself in that situation.
As a trainer, as a doctor, and he has a whole entourage of people.
Mm-hmm.
They have got to do a good job protecting him from himself.
And
I
sense that they will, but I keep, you flash back to that in 22.
I keep reading all these.
Year.
He's doing great. He's already doing this. He's already doing that. Like, just slow down.
Are you surprised if surgery was the next day?
I am.
It seemed a little early.
Most of the time, they let the swelling kind of maybe there wasn't a lot of swelling. I wasn't there when it happened. I didn't see the knee. All the experience that I've been around, and I've been around a lot of guys who've done knees, from high school kids to college kids to the NFL. And most of the time, it takes about a week or two to kind of get that swelling out. Maybe he didn't have the swelling. Maybe that's just, I don't know. But usually it's just because of the swelling. They won't go in there because just, I'm not a doctor, but that's the reason why they always say, hey, let the swelling go down a little bit.
I do want to get a little bit more into that on the other side of the break here. Probably got to hit our first one here of hour number 2. But Patrick Mahomes, the knee injury, what they might need to do this offseason, to either better this offense to make it easier on him, or if he's going to be out for a couple weeks, what quarterback you might try to target to have for an extended period of time. You're listening to the program on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, at the end of the hour, answer. How many teams have won 5 straight divisions without a Super Bowl appearance? I will tell you there have been 9 teams in division history since the merger to win 5 straight division titles. How many did it and didn't go to the Super Bowl once in that stretch?
Bills, right?
They have not won. They did not go to one.
That's a good... I suck at these things.
That's it.
Just the Bills.
Bills, huh?
Every other team
has made it.
That made it. Went to.
I was going to say Baltimore,
5 straight divisions.
but Baltimore hasn't won that many.
And even ones, in fact, it's Dolphins 82 to 85, Pats 03 to 07, Pats 09 to 19, Steelers 74 to 79, Colts 03 to 07, Raiders 72 to 76, Broncos 11 to 15, and Chiefs 16 to 24. And even if you take the 2 longer ones that were more than 5, with the Chiefs and the Pats, there was no 5-year stretch within that longer stretch where they didn't go to at least one. So it had never. There's been no 5-year stretch which team won the division all 5 years and didn't go to the Super Bowl until the Bills. The masters of bad timing.
Well, yeah, exactly. And the Bills Mafia. How happy are they to see the Chiefs out of it?
And unfortunately, they're going to have to go on the road for 3 games.
Absolutely, and then
really, and if we get rid of Mahomes and we're with a 7,
and then of course the Ravens, who are the other ones, are snake bit from this run from the Chiefs. They may not make the playoffs.
They're actually favored at Pittsburgh on Sunday.
Are they?
Isn't that crazy? I didn't think they would be, but they're a 1.5 favorite.
I think we've discussed this a little bit, Curtis, before we get into the Mahomes talk and what they might do at quarterback while he's out. When it comes to a team like Buffalo, who has been so snake bitten, as you've said, Tim. And now you get this opportunity without Kansas City in it, but you're the 7.
Yeah.
Is it more pressure than it would be if the Chiefs win it? Because if the Chiefs win it, I feel most people would say, well, we've seen this story 4 times. It's just going to happen again. I feel like even with them being the 7, they have maybe more pressure than anybody in the AFC field. Because if New England gets bounced in the divisional round, I'm not sure you look at their season as a failure because of how far they've come. Denver... kind of the same thing. They did make the postseason last year, but they've continued to build with Bo Nix. Jacksonville, kind of a look how far we've come. The Steelers, if they win the division or Baltimore does, it is what it is. Buffalo, to me, feels like the team that you've been waiting for so long to get this shot. Yes, you are the 7, but nobody views Buffalo as a 7 in the playoff field. None of those teams, not Denver, New England, Jacksonville, or Baltimore, would want to get Josh Allen and the Bills because they know they have more experience than anybody. At least in the last 5 to 6 seasons. I don't know. Is it more pressure even though they're a 7, or is it, hey, they still are a 7 and they got to go on the road 3 times to get to the Super Bowl?
No, there's more pressure even though they're a 7. Josh Allen, this is it. This is when, he can use Patrick Mahomes and the curse of Patrick Mahomes, and Patrick Mahomes is that kind of burr in his saddle that's been keeping him out of the Super Bowl, and now he can't use that. So if he goes out there and he gets beat by a Bo Nix, or he goes out there and gets beat by a Trevor Lawrence, or he goes out there and gets beat by a May in New England, then he loses a little bit of that luster. Right now, the only one who could beat him was Patrick Mahomes. Mm-hmm. Now, if you go into a game and you get beat by one of those guys, now it's, he can't win the big game. It's always been, it can't win the big game, but
had it not been for Mahomes, we could have done this.
And now he doesn't have that excuse. I don't know if the pressure is on that organization. I don't know if the pressure is on the Buffalo Bills, but it's certainly on Josh Allen. Allen, the pressure is on him. If he wants to be, I hate to say he wants to be that elite quarterback because he is. He's an elite quarterback. But if he wants to be that next level of quarterback as a Super Bowl winning quarterback, he has got to do it this year. Because let me tell you something. The dynasty isn't dead, everybody. It's a reset. It's like playing your Xbox, right? And you're getting whipped. And you know what? I've done this many times with my kids because all of a sudden they start getting better and better. And they're kicking my butt. Now, sorry, I pushed the reset button. That's what the Chiefs are doing. They're going to push the reset button. They're going to come back firing. And it'll be interesting to see. I know you want to talk a little bit about, if Patrick Mahomes isn't ready. And I'm hoping that he is ready, but in my mind's eye, I'd like to see him maybe the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th game of the year. And what's the difference in one game, Grunny? I just want him 100% before he goes out there. That's just my own personal opinion because this guy, he's got a lot of good football ahead of him, and I hate to see him rush back. But the reality is that this team will bounce back. It's going to have Andy Reid coming back. He just announced it. They have a high draft pick, so they're gonna go out and get hopefully a playmaker and a superstar in that top 10 pick, and I think the future is still bright for this organization.
They do need to do some retooling of the scheme, though, don't they? I mean, they need to at least the passing scheme.
Fresh
eyes.
They
need to bring. Okay, how do we do this again? Because too often we've seen them and it's almost like the reaction is, I can't believe the stuff we've always done isn't working anymore. They didn't have another thing to do. Let's just keep doing it and try to clean it up. We kept getting, we're going to clean it up, we're going to clean it up, we're going to clean it up. If you run that thing clean, it's still not working. Because there are plenty of times where it looks clean and there's still nobody open.
Well, I think you hit it on the head when you started that statement. The things that we always did aren't working.
Yeah.
If you're always doing things, people are going to catch up.
And this was the year where it seemed like it was more obvious that the defenses were ready for what was coming.
Yeah, and the offensive line had some injuries, so there wasn't as much time. And then,
but they knew what the route tree is. They know with this formation they're doing this. This is what They know when mesh is coming. They know when this is coming. So I've got to tear that thing down and rebuild it. And as I said last week, I said if they tear it down and rebuild it, is it going to look a lot like it has? Probably a little bit, because it's the same guy building it, but it still has to be.
I've said this a million.
You can't just bring back the same band members, and as another analogy I said, if they're going to bring back the same band, they got to write some new songs.
Yeah, and I've said this a million times. The NFL and really any kind of sport, especially football, is about getting guys to hesitate.
Yeah,
getting guys to question themselves, getting guys not to be able to react as fast because they're thinking and they're not quite ready for what's coming at them. They're ready. Teams are ready for what's going on. I mean, you watched last night. I was watching that game last night. A big Bears fan. Still my
amazing offensive game last night.
It was, but if you watch the San Francisco 49ers, do you think that any defensive player is comfortable playing against that offense?
No.
All that movement and all those shifting and all the different things that they do, I don't care if you've seen it on film.
Yeah.
It's not the same. So what do? You try and practice it. You can't practice that.
No.
So that's where the Chiefs need to get to, where teams are, they're hesitating and they're nervous about what's coming at them. I think they're pretty comfortable with what the Chiefs are doing.
And how many of those replays from behind the quarterback last night did you see defenders going one way and here comes somebody? Oh wow, look at that!
Yeah,
I mean almost every other pass play seemingly there was one guy going hi
and run plays too.
I'm right here.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
absolutely,
man.
I'm interested by how they could retool this and what needs to happen, because I believe a big part of it is having an elite rusher. And I know that's asking for a lot here.
Ask for everything.
You've got Jeremiah Love.
Yes, you do.
That's available there. And see, I remember there was the film breakdown at the game at Denver, where they're trying to run the RPO over and over and over again. Well, defenses have now adjusted and going, you're not running the football.
They're not afraid of our running backs.
They're not afraid whatsoever. And even if they do hand the ball off, you do not have the explosive runner to get 15 to 20 out of it. It's usually 7 yards, which is, you'll take it.
At its best.
At its best. And that's where, Kareem Hunt, I thought, in his role the last 2 years, has been effective for what was expected of him coming back. But he's never going to break one open for 35 to 40 yards. The next time the Chiefs have a 75-yard touchdown from the line of scrimmage just on a simple handoff, it'll leave my jaw on the floor.
Jamal Charles, the last one I could think of.
I can think
about it. Jamal Charles in the Denver against Denver on a rainy night.
Oh.
That was it.
I have to see the last time they've had a 70.
Didn't Damian Williams do it once against, it was like 84
against
or
the
something?
Vikings.
Yeah, with Matt Moore as their quarterback.
There was that play where Tyreek Hill,
I can't even remember
comes outside of the picture and actually decides, I'm going to show you that I'm faster, and he beats him to the end zone. That's still, I think that was 80 yards.
It was over 80 for sure. And
it's like, that was 2019.
Yeah. And that's with...
It was half a lifetime ago, seemingly.
Funny enough, it's with a quarterback like Matt Moore, and they're still able to move the ball. Now, I get it. You can say, well, they had a Hall of Famer in Tyreek Hill and a Hall of Famer in Travis Kelce, both in their prime, helping that offense move the ball. But I wonder, because the schedule will come out in, April? and it's going to be a third-place schedule. So I believe that's a big reason why you can believe in a bounce back. They're going to get a lot of teams they just on paper are better than. Based on what happened this year, though, they get that luxury. They get that
Miami
benefit.
and Cincinnati.
Yeah.
One here and one there. I can't remember. We talked about this on Friday, which one was which. But
yeah, it's a schedule that should be in their favor, and I wonder if it comes out and let's say the first 4 games are against the Raiders, and then you get, I don't know which division they'll have next year on the NFC side, but let's say you've got 4 games, 2 of them are at home, your 2 road games are the Raiders and somebody else that's lesser. Is that where you say, okay, we've got 4 winnable games there, we can't start slow, we also don't want to rush Patrick Mahomes back.
Right.
Where you go and sign one of these backups we were talking about on break and say, hey, we'll give you these 4 starts here. We need you to go 3-1 at minimum. I'm not sure we want to take 2-2 because now we've seen how difficult it is to play catch-up for 17 games on the schedule where you just never feel like you're in control. And then, best case scenario, you sign some guy who's probably a little bit more than a backup, more of a 1B quarterback. They go 3-1. Now you've got Mahomes back and rested, and you've clearly retooled this offense to help this backup win 3 out of 4.
Mm-hmm.
You add maybe a Jeremiah Love. If Travis Kelce retires, you sign a Jonnu Smith who's been more of a dynamic playmaker in Pittsburgh. You make these moves to really aid your backup quarterback, but in the long run, you are making that transition so much easier for Patrick Mahomes because he's stepping into an offense that was already making it work with a backup.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think that they should go out with the selling point that, hey, listen, we are going to give you the opportunity to play at least these first 4 games of the year. And going back to my earlier statement that I would just tell Patrick Mahomes, in the best case scenario, you're going to come back after the first quarter of the season and go out and find yourself a quarterback. There's a list of guys, that are free agents. Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones is going to go try and get a starting job somewhere. But let's just mark him off. Aaron Rodgers, I don't know what he's going to do, but that's not the guy who's going to come in here. You got a guy like Russell Wilson. Would Russell Wilson come here to Kansas City for an opportunity to play for 4 games with the idea that you're coming in, you're going to be here? And by the way, you got a guy with a surgical repaired knee. And, most of the time these things, they're just as strong, if not stronger than they were before. So I'm not saying that this is going to hamper or hinder his career. Just like the Tommy John surgery. Now these guys go get Tommy John. They sit out for a year and a half. They're throwing the ball 5 or 6 miles per hour faster because of the surgery. So you got guys like, Trey Lance, Mac Jones, Tyron Taylor, Mitch Trubisky. You get a guy like that. And you say, hey, listen, we're going to give you these first 4 games with the idea that, hey, listen, we may need you as the season goes on. I don't know if those guys should be sold on that or not. Just depends on what they're looking for.
Or how much of a sell job is the ability to work in that offense? It would have been more of a sell job if this was coming off the 22 season. I think the lure of playing in an Andy Reid offense isn't what it was, I think, 3 or 4 years ago. So it's hard to see how much of a boost that would be. But the Chiefs' schedule next year is going to be, obviously, besides the 6 games against the AFC West, they play all 4 teams in the AFC East, so there's 2 playoff teams.
All right.
So we've already got 2 against the Denver, 2 against the Chargers, so there's 4 games.
Right.
2 more against the AFC East. They're going to play the NFC West, so there's 3 more games.
Yeah, that's not easy.
The Seahawks, 49ers, and Rams, so there's 9 games.
And the Cardinals are your deep breath.
And then they have the rotational third-place teams. Right now it's the Colts in the AFC South, the Bengals in the AFC North, and the better of either the Falcons or Saints in the NFC South. So
tougher than I expected.
Doesn't seem that easy.
No, you drew the wrong NFC conference.
You did.
You'd want the South.
Getting the West is
getting the West. You're going to get 3 12-win teams.
You'll probably get
for the first time.
In that case, you'll get the Niners at home. Have they announced that yet?
Because home games, they'll get the Cardinals and Niners here.
So they'll play at the Rams
and then
at Seattle.
At the Rams in Seattle.
Which are 2
AFC East
crappy trips, by the way.
AFC East, Pats and Jets here. So at least you get New England here, and you go to Buffalo and Miami. And then the AFC South winner will come here. The AFC North and NFC South third place teams will be on the road.
It's not like these guys
so they're going to have 9 playoff opponents next year, and we're going to have 8 8 home games.
It's not like these guys are getting on a Southwest airline, getting on
they're pretty nice.
They're in C group or something.
It's pretty nice. It's more who they're playing than necessarily
But the reality is, though, they do have to travel now twice to L.A.
Mm-hmm.
They got to travel to Seattle.
Yep.
They have to most likely
Arizona.
San Francisco, Arizona, and Vegas.
Yeah.
They don't go to Miami, right?
No, Miami comes here.
Okay. That's
no, they do go to Miami.
That's
Buffalo
a lot.
Miami.
That's a lot
so
of travel.
They're going to upstate New York and South Florida.
They're touring the tour in the United States. They're doing their
just about.
The business trip will be all over the place.
That's wild.
A lot of travel.
And just those games that they won't be playing at iconic Arrowhead Stadium.
But the interesting thing is too. So, I never want to lie to a free agent coming in, but you also got to be a straight shooter with them. But that's going to take a conversation you're going to have with Patrick Mahomes.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're not going to get anybody to come in here and be Patrick Mahomes' backup that I would say, listen, this guy right here is an opportunity to win 3 games out of 4. I mean, you tell me what quarterback would come and just be a backup, but if Patrick can't play for the first 4 games, then he has the opportunity to win 3 out of 4 games. I just don't see that.
Yep.
So you're going to have to maybe go find a kind of a journeyman guy, unless you talk to Patrick Mahomes and say, listen, and then you tell the free agent, hey, we're shutting him down for this amount of games. So we're telling you the truth right now. He is not going to play the first 2 games of the year, whether he is 100% or whether he is going to throw a blank fit. He's not playing. We're just letting you know that right now. Yeah. And maybe they don't want to do that. I don't know, but it's a tricky situation the Chiefs are in this offseason.
This offseason is just monstrous.
It is.
Monstrous.
That's why, and you
biggest one since the first one when they got here.
Jack, you brought up a great point when you talked about, the scheming, and you have to bring in a playmaker, whether it's by free agency or draft this year, that could take a little bit of the pressure off of Patrick Mahomes. And it's not a wide receiver, okay? It's just not, because most teams are saying, listen, we're going to play our cover 2. We're going to keep the top on. We're going to play, maybe cover 2 man underneath to make it difficult for your receivers to get off the line of scrimmage. And then, we're not going to let them create space. And they've shown this year, in the last couple of years, really not a lot of space being created by our wide receivers. And as fast as they certainly are not creating too much space. So what do? Well, you get them to hesitate. How? How do you get them to hesitate? You put a playmaker in the backfield that they have to respect the running game. You have to respect the idea that if they give this ball to running back A, he can hurt us, and he can take it to the house. And I don't like free agent running backs. I just don't. You look at the production of most of the great running backs. Henry's a different beast. He's a whole different beast from a whole different world. He's a strange cat. But if you look at Gibbs and you look at Bijan Robinson, and you look at all those guys, they're all that first 4 years, first 5 years, and that's why I know don't draft a running back. It's a waste. You need to find a playmaker. I don't care. I love Love. I mean, there you go, another one of those.
Hello.
I think Jeremiah Love he's the answer. I think he'd be great here. I've watched him play for the last 3 years at Notre Dame. I love the way that he runs the ball. He's got explosiveness. He's got power. He's got juke ability. He's got all that. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. But can you imagine if you're a safety and you're playing cover 2 and you're like, hey, we'll let him run the ball. Not with that guy back there.
Yeah.
So guess what? They're going to have busy eyes.
Which makes their
busy eyes. Busy eyes from safeties. Busy eyes from linebackers equal hesitation. Hesitation equals success.
Fox Sports get Chiefs fans overly excited. Fox Sports just came out with a mock draft 4 hours ago that has the Chiefs picking 10th, and it has them taking Jeremiah Love.
10th?
10th.
I thought we were at 8 right now.
Well, right now they're sitting at 9, but there's a team that would knock them down 1 if the Falcons lose tonight.
Oh.
They'll go to 6 and 10, and
so who are we rooting for?
The Falcons got to beat the Rams, I believe. Yeah.
So but what's interesting is the Rams have the Falcons pick. So the Rams, if the Rams win tonight, that'll improve their ability. I think it improves. Maybe they're locked into their spot, but anyway, it makes them better in the standings, and it makes the draft pick they have even better. That's pretty good when you can win in Week 18 and improve your draft standing. because they have the Falcons' #1 pick. So, but the best they can pick is 8th. The worst they can pick is 13th.
I will say
right
this.
Now they're sitting in 9th.
When it comes to the running back position, because there are a lot of people that say I would never use a top 15 pick on a running back, and it's not all equivalent. They're not all comparable. But I remember when Bijan Robinson was taken by Atlanta, there was the initial pushback of I wouldn't use a pick that high on a running back. Jahmyr Gibbs kind of got that pushback as well with Detroit. It was but now when you think about it, like if you go get Jeremiah Love, and it is. I mean, to use a 9th or 10th pick on a running back, especially when you also need help on edge. If Reuben Bain's there out of Miami, you got Pete Woods in the interior from Clemson. Those are 2 guys I really like as well. But if you like some running back in day 2 that you're going to wait until the 3rd round, well, that running back better be really damn good because Jeremiah Love's getting taken by somebody in the top 15, and if he goes out there and he's Gibbs or Bijan Robinson and your day 2, day 3 pick doesn't work out, and oh, by the way, your edge rusher doesn't either, then you really screwed it all up.
Or if your day 2 pick isn't there.
Absolutely.
If you're sitting at 10 and Jeremiah Love's there, you know he's going to be there if you pick him. He'll play for your team next year.
Yeah.
If you pass that up and think, well, we got a couple of guys we like in the second round or
there's
third
generational
round.
talents out there that you got to be careful. Yes. You don't overthink it and you pass up guys because of analytics or whatever it is. If you see somebody on film that you said this guy will fit like a glove, I will say this, and I hope I'm not breaking anybody's confidence here. I was at the Arkansas Notre Dame game down in Arkansas, and I was up running around, and I saw a pretty high level scout from the Chiefs there, and he's with his son. And he was walking by, and I'm like, hey, and we started talking. He goes, what are you doing here? I said, we got some friends and blah, blah, blah. And I said, he goes, what do you think of that running back for the Chiefs? He goes, oh, man, he'd look great in our uniform, wouldn't he? I said, you damn right. He goes, I don't think we're going to be able to get him. Well, now you are.
Now you may have the shot.
Now you are.
If he's there and they don't take him, I mean,
I think
I don't get it.
Yeah, and then it's
I know they
happen.
do the other spots, but you can. I mean, we've never seen that guy.
How many times are we going to draft another defensive lineman? How many times are we going to draft? Clyde Edwards-Helaire was wasn't he the last pick in the first?
He was
round?
last the first, yeah.
I mean, okay. And then
then we looked at him as like, oh, wait, maybe the fact that
somebody threw that
the
at me.
entire offense is in the NFL.
I will never draft another running back in the first round after Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So with that premise, you'll never draft another offensive tackle with Truzell Jenkins.
Yeah, well, exactly. It sounds like the Chiefs decided we're not taking another running back in the first 6 rounds.
Yeah.
Because they have not taken a pick in the first 6 rounds in the 5 drafts since Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Yeah.
I just feel the risk reward when you're looking at the plethora of running backs. They could go spend money on Breece Hall if they wanted to, and he was an 1,000-yard rusher this year. That is certainly a possibility. He's got the local ties as well. But in terms of a boom or bust, I don't know. Running backs do have that bad rap from time to time, but I really feel the guy like Jeremiah Love, if you take him on draft night, I feel the amount of people in the league that would say, I really like that pick for the Chiefs, it would be overwhelming, where if you do go edge rusher, I'm not against it, but that guy really has to be a difference maker on the defensive line, where if Jeremiah Love comes in and he runs for 800 yards in year 1, I still feel that tremendously improves your backfield.
Well, but then what are you saying to Gelati and Karlaftis now?
Yeah.
Too. I mean, they're both young guys. Gelati had a good year. I mean, let the guy have another year of development.
Yeah.
Everybody's been. Karlaftis has got a huge contract. And now you're going to go draft another defensive end? Another rush end?
And guess what? When Patrick Mahomes comes back, he's not going to be running pat like he was.
No.
You're not going to count on him getting 300 or 400 yards in the run game. You need a guy who can run the ball.
Give the guy some arrows for his quiver, man.
And if they do good him, just stop with the RPOs.
Yeah, stop it.
Get under center and give this kid the ball.
How about play action?
I'm already complaining about
It'll work too.
I'm already complaining about how the Chiefs are using it.
How about a guy who may or may not be there?
They're not running it enough.
Damn it, Andy.
How come they only gave him 8 times in that game? Jeremiah Love got the ball 8 times. He had 50 yards and 8 times, and we didn't give it to him more.
Give Love the ball. I'm tired of this.
Love stinks.
Yeah.
We are rolling on here with Tim Grunhard. Yeah, we're rolling on here with Tim Grunhard, wrapping up hour number 2. Kyle's just signaled to me we need to take a quick break, so you're listening to Sports Radio 810 WHB. Wrapping up hour number 2 of the program on Sports Radio 810 WHB. I'm your host, Jack Johnson, filling in for Soren Petro, Kurtis Seaboldt, Tim Grunhard, Kyle Collier, all here in studio. Before we went to break, Kurtis had mentioned that the Fox Sports mock draft had the Chiefs taking Jeremiah Love, the running back out of Notre Dame, at 10. Well, CBS Sports has the Chiefs taking Jeremiah Love at 9. And we still have a few months to go before the draft. Things are going to change. We're talking draft because that's more exhilarating to me than the game on Sunday. But, man, it's getting talked up so much at this point. And all these mock drafts, and it makes all the sense in the world. And you're hoping they never draft this high again in the Patrick Mahomes era. But to me, even though running back first-round grades aren't usually popular, it's a lot of people go, I'd rather go edge rusher, I'd rather go defensive tackle because this guy's really special. To me, what would hurt so much worse, even if they did, get a guy like Ruben Bain, who in the CBS mock draft, they got him going 10th to Cincinnati.
Right.
Pete Woods, who we talked a little bit about, he's going top 5 in this mock draft. So maybe he's one of those late risers where he goes from maybe a 12th pick to 4th or 5th. With Jeremiah Love, the scary part about it is that if you don't draft him, he's going likely right after that to somebody, whether it's 10th, 11th, or 12th. And what I would hate to see is even if you get a rookie edge rusher that has 8 sacks in year number 1, if Jeremiah Love goes somewhere and he's Jahmyr Gibbs or he's Bijan Robinson and that was your shot to get a running back like that, I'd feel it would just be far more painful. Where if you let a guy like Ruben Bain or one of these edge rushers, you pass on him and he goes and has a 10 or 11 sack season, yeah, it stings, but if you get that type of ceiling in a running back, you're not getting that in free agency, and you're probably not getting that in day 2 or day 3 either.
Yeah, and every year we cover the draft, and every year we talk about pass rushers, and every year we, I'm looking at, do we talk about this guy? I can't remember if, what was it?
Right.
The rush in for the Saints, I think it's Young. Did we talk about him? Was he a guy that we brought up? All these different guys. But I promise you'll always remember those quarterbacks or those wide receivers or running backs.
Mm-hmm.
Those top 10 quarterbacks, running backs, or wide receivers that make huge splashes, that turn offenses around, are the guys that you always remember. So, yeah, that's the unfortunate for the Chiefs. The Chiefs may say, listen, you know what, we just don't see the value in taking a running back in the top 10, blah, blah, blah. So let's go out and get this defense in. But so if Love goes somewhere like, let's say, Washington, where's Washington pick? Are they at?
They're at 7.
7?
Right now.
Okay,
Cincinnati's 10. So if Cincinnati
took him, and then all of a sudden Cincinnati, they got a 1,000-yard rusher and a guy that's got 40 catches, we're going to be kicking ourselves. And this is a guy, for the next 4, 5, 6 years, you're going to say, that's the guy we should have took. And that's the last thing the Chiefs need to do, is when they have an opportunity to bring a quality person with an unbelievable upside into this offense.
So they're already going to watch Ladd McConkey for the next 5 years. They don't want to watch Jeremiah Love as well.
I heard you guys talking about that. And I'm not, pat myself. That's what I wanted, that guy so bad.
Same.
And I thought I'll tell you how far back it goes. I thought his dad was a football player for the Giants.
Right. We all did. We were stunned. We found out like the week before the draft. That's not Phil McConkey's kid. It's not even related. Not like a nephew. No relation at all.
That's how far back that goes.
Yes.
Tim, thanks so much for joining us, man. We'll talk to you next time.
Talk to you guys.
All right, who was the last head coach to win the AFC West for someone other than the Chiefs or Broncos? Brought to you by Nick and Jake's.
Hour number 3 of the program on Sports Radio 810 WHB. I'm your host, Jack Johnson, filling in for Seren Petro. It is now time for the 2-minute drill, which is brought to you by Jocelyn's Jewelry. And Chiefs and Raiders this Sunday, not a lot on the line for these two teams other than draft position. And we're going to go out to Vegas and talk with Adam Hill of the Las Vegas Review-Journal and ESPN Las Vegas. Adam, you know, I know that the draft position matters here in Kansas City. It certainly matters for the Raiders here. They just lost their 10th in a row, got blown out by the Giants. But, hey, if you're going to lose it this much, then you probably want to land that top pick, right?
Yeah, I think people have been on board for a while. Maybe not everybody, maybe not Pete Carroll, but the rest of the people that are, following the team and paying attention have believed that they've had to do this, and it's something they've kind of ruined the last couple of years. They've always been really bad, but they found a way to steal games at the end, and they can't afford to do that this year.
So in looking at that top spot, if all goes according to plan and they have their pick of the litter, what do they need to take, or is there a scenario in which they would maybe trade down a few spots and get a boatload of picks?
I mean, that's what I would be doing if I was the Raiders, for sure, for a couple of reasons. One, I don't know that there's necessarily a surefire number one. I know a lot of people are enamored with Fernando Mendoza, potentially Dante Moore, who I know a lot of people in the organization like if he does come out, which is expected. But I think a couple of things. I think next year's quarterback class is even deeper. I think that there's potential to get, maybe a better prospect there. And look, this team is not just a quarterback away. I mean, I know it would help a lot, but they need a lot. Mm-hmm. And I think using that pick to get as many assets as possible is probably the most prudent thing to do.
For the guys that are on the team right now, the Raiders had shut down Brock Bowers, Max Crosby, though the Max Crosby situation was more of national news. What can you tell us about this situation? He seemed to be very upset by the Raiders shutting him down, and I guess more importantly, is he going to be in a Raiders uniform next year?
Yeah, I think it's a very fair question. I mean, we just talked about how many assets they need. If he was indeed worth what they believe he is on the market, I think it's something they have to explore. The 2 first-round picks thing has been thrown around. I'm not sure that that's actually the value, but if it is, I would certainly be open to it if I was the Raiders, of trading the first pick for multiple first-round picks and then trading Max Crosby for multiple first-round picks. Like, all of a sudden you're looking at an Oklahoma City-type situation in basketball. I mean, I think that's their best route to getting better. And I don't think, if anybody thinks 2026 is the year that the Raiders are going to compete, I think they're fooling themselves. I think it's a 2027 and beyond type thing. So I'd be looking to acquire as much as I possibly could, and if that's the case, Max Crosby is not getting any younger. If next year is not the year, and it's 2 years from now, you're looking at Max Crosby being, 30 years old. At that point, he's probably not a part of the solution. So I'd be open to everything if I was them, and I'm not sure how much damage is done. I think quite a bit, but I don't know if it's irreparable. Max Crosby not happy with the organization. They're probably not happy that he did what he did in terms of leaving and then posting, Instagram videos of himself playing basketball and jumping on a trampoline to just kind of rub it in and say, hey, I'm fine. That's probably not an ideal situation, but I'm sure they could fix it if they want to. But, if there ever was a time to explore trading Max Crosby, it's probably now.
You mentioned Pete Carroll earlier on in our segment here. Do you feel like this is going to be a one and done for him? I mean, clearly this is not the way he thought things were going to go, but is he going to stick around for this rebuild?
I think it's more likely than not that he's gone. I think it is a one and done, and I think there's multiple reasons why. Like, they just weren't on the same timeline, and they bring in a first-time GM in John Spytek, who's young, with a team that needs a ton of rebuilding. And instead, Pete Carroll comes in and says, hey, I win 10 games. That's what I do. That was a quote from before the season that a lot of people have brought back. But he brings in guys like Tyler Lockett and other players that just don't make sense, like Landon Roberts and guys that have been okay. Jamal Adams, Devin White, who has a lot of tackles but has struggled quite a bit this year. Like, older players. They should have been looking at younger players. And I think, the way that Pete Carroll wanted to do things, it was, hey, I'm going to come in and we're going to be good, and we're going to get veteran players that are going to help us compete and be good. And that just wasn't what this team needed. And I think to now take a step back and try to go into a full rebuild with a coach who's going to be 75 next year, it doesn't make sense. I think he set back the rebuild because of what he wanted to do and try to win. And I don't know that their timelines align. I just don't know that it makes sense for him to be back.
And lastly, I want to talk a little baseball with you. What's the latest you can tell us on the Athletics bringing baseball to Vegas?
I mean, they're moving dirt around. That's something. There's something that's happening on the site. I think there's still a lot of moving pieces in terms of what else they're building around there, around that site on the Strip. I drive by it, pretty much 4 or 5 times a week and kind of look over and see what's going on. And they insist that it's happening, it's being built, and there are steps that have been taken that show, like, hey, this is a thing. I know with Serena in the past, I've been very, very skeptical. Like, it is getting built. The stadium is getting built. That's happening. I still don't fully trust ownership. I still think there's a lot of things that have to be figured out and solved. I think that there's some mistakes that they've made along the way in terms of the architecture that are going to come out sooner rather than later. But it's a project that's happening. I don't know that anybody's excited about it or thrilled about it. There was, hey, a big signing this weekend, and they tried to generate some buzz around Las Vegas. Like, hey, you've got a long-term player to build around here with the A's, and I don't think it even made a dent, even though the Raiders are terrible.
Well, Adam, appreciate you hopping on. We'll talk to you next time.
Sounds good. Thanks, man.
We're headed to Pittsburgh to talk with Tim Benz of Fox Sports Radio in Pittsburgh, 970 AM. Well, Tim, we're catching you just, a day removed from the Steelers falling to the Cleveland Browns yesterday. What can you tell us about that game? How did that happen with the playoff spot on the line?
It happened the same way it always seems to happen when they go to Cleveland. It used to be a place where they never lost and a team that they never lost to when Ben Roethlisberger was at the height of his powers. But now, over the last 8 years, they've won there just once. They go there despite the track record I just outlined. They feel like they can waltz in and get a victory. They look across the line of scrimmage at a quarterback who's either Shadur Sanders, Jameis Winston, Jacoby Brissett, or DTR, and they think that guy's going to throw him the ball every time he drops back or make a mistake, or they'll just Cleveland it away, but they don't. And the Steelers eventually, I hope, will learn this lesson. The fans and the media seem to have. I mean, people were skeptical of their ability to cover a spread or even win a game up there, despite everything suggesting that the Steelers should. There was a lot of trepidation going into this game. The Steelers showed us exactly why there should have been from Jump Street.
It lines up a pivotal and do-or-die game on Sunday Night Football with the Ravens. What confidence level should Steelers fans have about them winning this game and winning the North?
Minimal. They're a 3.5-point underdog right now. That feels like an accurate line. That's kind of where I would set it. I give them about a 40-60 chance. The big thing with the Steelers is, and this comes down to how they decide they want to play it and how John Harbaugh decides he wants to play it. The Steelers' defense stopping the run stinks if they've got to do two things at once. If they got to concern themselves with a mobile quarterback and a good running back, they're going to get shredded. It happens every time. If they just focus on stopping a good running back, like Jonathan Taylor or Josh Jacobs or Devin Achane, those are all examples of guys that they slowed down when they just focused on stopping the run. The Bears' rush attack, for that matter, too, was pretty tame against the Steelers. They're okay if it's just about stopping the running back. But if they got to worry about stopping a good quarterback, too, that's mobile, then they tend to get in trouble. And if Lamar is there and they concern themselves with Lamar and get away from Henry, Henry's going to gouge him just like he did a season ago. If Tyler Huntley's in there and the Steelers ignore him and he keeps the ball a few times, that could be problematic as well. I just see how Baltimore approaches their own run game with whoever is at quarterback against the Steelers' rush defense as the biggest variable in this contest.
When we look back at that DK Metcalf situation, is it going to be the moment that kept the Steelers out of the playoffs?
Yeah, probably, but that's only the case because they are so ill-prepared to have any injury or, in this case, suspension at the position. When people complained back in March, April, August, September, at the trade deadline, whenever, that the Steelers didn't have enough depth at wide receiver, it wasn't just about having a number 2 complement to DK Metcalf. It was about hey, don't you remember how bad it looked when George Pickens was the number one and then he got hurt late in the season? Remember that? It was only a year ago, and the Steelers cavalierly ignored it and acted like we were all dumb for pointing it out. Well, here we are again, and you saw what it looked like yesterday against the Browns.
Well, you got Ravens and Steelers on Sunday Night Football to decide the division. Want to talk a little Pirates baseball? We had heard going into the winter meetings the Pirates wanted to spend some money. They wanted to be aggressive, build around Paul Skeens, and quietly, or maybe even not so quietly, they've had a nice offseason and bringing in Ryan O'Hearn. They had the 3-team trade as well with Tampa Bay and Houston. Have you been pretty impressed with what they've done so far, or do they still need to do much more to really get your attention?
No, anything they do gets your attention because they never do anything. At least this time they feigned interest in the top-notch free agents and got some second-level guys. Usually what they do is they ignore the top-notch guys entirely, feign interest in the second-level guys, and try to tell us that Tommy Pham is going to be an MVP or something like that. That's usually their directive in the off-season. But it has been, like you said, a little bit more of a noisy and in a good way off-season for the Pirates. They still could be in on this Japanese third baseman, first baseman, Kazuma Okamoto. That's a guy that, has been on the radar for a while. That would be great to add him, too. It's not all about altruism like, hey, the window on Paul Skeens is tight. We got to win now for our fans. That's not it. They're spending because they're feeling pressure from the agents. They're spending because they're feeling pressure from the league. They're spending because they're feeling pressure from the big market teams. And depending on what happens after the labor stoppage, whether it's a cap floor situation or some sort of increased revenue sharing where they have to have some money on the books, they want to make sure they have money on the books when they come out of that resolution, so they're not in a spending spree with everybody else in baseball to get to a certain number, and they're walking away like some teams did when a cap was implemented in hockey way back when, 20 years ago. And you're overspending on veterans just to get to a floor or whatever the minimum amount is to operate as a franchise. They want to get some money on the books now. It's a wise economic strategy as much as it is a, hey, let's go out there and win for our fans thing just because Paul Skeens is here.
Tim, appreciate your time. You have a good one.
All right, thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
We're going to go to Cleveland and talk with Munch Bishop of NEO Sports Insiders. Well, let's talk about this Steelers-Browns game. We just got the Pittsburgh point of view. Browns get it done 13-6, playing spoiler against a division rival. Did you see that one coming?
You know what? I did not in any way, shape, or form, especially what the Steelers did to the Lions the week before. Now, the Lions definitely on a downward slide. Here's what's interesting. Pittsburgh fell into the same trap that Green Bay did. Think about this. The Browns have been beaten by the worst teams in the NFL, including the Jets, okay? They have been beaten by the Titans. Yeah, they beat the Raiders, but other than that, it's been dismal. Now, Green Bay thought, you know what, we'll go in, we'll just play a game, and we'll drive down and win at the end. I feel that the Steelers felt the same way, which they should not. It is a grave, grave mistake. Any team on any given day, that, proverbially any given Sunday, but the bottom line is it came back to bite them in a big, big way. But I'm going to say this, is that, everybody is putting Shadir Sanders on a pedestal. Well, he put up 3 points in over 3 quarters, okay, and got bailed out on a horrible lame duck toss that young Fannin got to him on. But it's just puzzling. A win is a win is a win. The great Earl Bruce, Ohio State coach, taught me that in the 80s. But, my golly, Browns didn't win this game as much as Pittsburgh losing it. I wish I could have heard our guest from Pittsburgh to hear what he had to say.
Well, let's talk about the defensive side of the football here. And Myles Garrett, not able to get the sack record on Sunday against the Steelers. What can you say about this season? Because even though the Browns season hasn't gone according to plan, you've gotten one of the all-time best seasons from an edge rusher in Myles Garrett.
Well, you know what? Here's the bottom line, is that Myles Garrett is a good dude, okay? He's a pretty good football player. I call him Mimi Miles because all he's interested in is the money. He's interested in getting Defensive Player of the Year. I mean, he even said something moronic about going to the Super Bowl back in August. That's what I said. This team will be lucky to win 3 games. Well, they have 4 wins now, and that's where it's going to end. But the bottom line is, baseball, it as good as anyone. You've got the guy who hits 30, 35 home runs, but you know what? Most of them are solo shots in the bottom of the 9th inning when the team is already down 10-0, and he's been up 3 or 4 times with runners on base, and he doesn't produce. You know, if Miles' sacks were that game-changing, don't you think they'd have a few more wins if, indeed, they were that impactful? He had 5 against New England, and what the Browns lose by? 3 touchdowns and a field goal. So that just shows you it's like, you know what? Is it fun to interview? But here's what's sad, because the rabble that follows this team, the cult, that's all they're, that's the cult, not the Colts. The cult, that's all they're talking about. Wait a second. Heck with the sack rushing, with the sack total. I want victories, and they're not producing those.
On the baseball side of things here, it's been more of a quiet off season for the Guardians. They DFA'd Big Christmas. You have the Emmanuel Class A situation, of course, that we're still trying to get all the details about it. You know, coming off of a Central Division title where they storm back in September, take that spot from the Tigers, but then fall to them in the ALDS, or the AL wildcard, excuse me. I mean, is this an offseason where they need to be more aggressive? I don't know about you, but it seems like every single year they don't spend a lot, but yet they continue to get those wins in division titles. What do they need to do between now and spring training?
Well, conversely, I want to say this, is that here you have people that just fall totally in love with the Browns because some of them say, well, they spend money, but they don't win. Isn't winning the most important thing? Now, one thing that's happened, if you notice that the Guardians have bolstered their bullpen, is it a bunch of Jags? Just a guy. Yeah, a lot of them are, but these Jags have proved to be very worthy in the past. And yeah, the Class A thing was crushing. It was devastating. That's just for what he did and dragged Ortiz into it. And they'll put a gun to his head, so Ortiz did it on his own free will. But the bottom line is they need a bat. And I can almost guarantee you they will get some type of bat. They don't want to taint the younger players. They've got some studs on that team, okay? They're coming around in a big, big way. Manzardo is one of them. But I still look for them to add a power bat to the outfield. You know, even if a guy hits 230, you got to get 30, 35 home runs out of him.
Jumping over to the NBA, we know the Cavs were so dominant, so good last year. But this year, sitting at 17-16, 33 games into the year, what's gone wrong so far to start the year?
It is a puzzle. You know what? What is the saying that the hip people do? I'm hardly hip, you know that, man. Oh, man, that guy is sick, which is a good thing. Well, the Cavaliers are sick, and it's a bad thing. Yeah, the injuries have taken hold again in a big, big way. But the bottom line is their mojo just does not work in the big way, to use the old blues phrase. Kenny Atkinson keeps trying different combinations of people on the floor, on the court, and guys that are not hitting shots, that hit shots in the past. Oh, yeah, Struce being out hurts. Allen missing games hurts. Bubbly missing games hurts. Garland missing games hurts. Oh, guess what? That's 4 starters right there. DeAndre Hunter has been a disappointment in a big, big way. You know what, man? Right now, they're not even talking about anything down the road. They're talking about the next game where you can see some teams already building for what's going to come in another month or two. But the bottom line is, it is, I talked to Sren about this. There's nothing but, the big picture of them going to the Eastern Conference Finals. Let's just hope right now that they finish over 500.
Big showdown on Wednesday with the Cotton Bowl, Ohio State and Miami. Miami coming off of the upset in College Station over A&M. Should this be a winnable game for Ohio State, or is this a much tougher matchup than people are talking about?
Oh, brother, this will be a romp. This will be little bighorn, okay? And, yes, Miami will be General Custer and his troops. For them to, A&M, you saw them. 2 very, very good teams playing football. But, by golly, offensively, you're not going to do anything. You say, well, Indiana just scored how many against the Buckeyes in one? But, no, it's not going to happen. I look for the Buckeyes to handle this one easily.
Munch, thanks so much for hopping on. We'll talk to you next time.
Brother, always a treat, man. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you.
We're going to Tampa Bay to talk with Pat Donovan of 95.3 FM WDAE and AM 620. Let's start it off here in the NFL with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers losing their 4th straight yesterday in a loss to the Dolphins 20-17. 7-9 right now. I know Chiefs fans can talk about a letdown of a year, but Pat, did you ever think this was going to be possible that we'd be talking about a Buccaneers team sub 500 this late into the year?
No, not at all. Especially when the team started 6-2 and people had them atop their power rankings and people were talking about Baker Mayfield as an MVP. And now you mentioned 4 losses in a row, also 7 of 8. And when you mention the 4 losses in a row, it sounds bad until you mention that those teams were New Orleans and Atlanta and Carolina and the Miami Dolphins. And that sounds even worse.
it's just been an odd year, really, in the NFL. Some teams that were underdogs are top seeds in their respective conferences. But really, when you break things down from the 6-2 start, now sitting at 7-9, what is the overarching thing that has gone so wrong for the Bucs?
What hasn't is probably the big question. Earlier this season, we could point directly to injuries and say, they've got injuries and the offensive line has been shuffled and there's all these things that are going wrong. But wow, they're 6-2, and after the bye week, the schedule actually gets easier. I was the idiot, as a matter of fact, on my show, who said if the Bucs lose to the Rams, it'll probably be their last loss of the season. Instead, Arizona might be their last win of the season. I mean, it's absolutely insane to see the way that this thing has gone down, because at the end of the day, are they still missing both of their starting guards? Yes, they are. And they missed Tristan Wirfs last week as well. The reality is this team is getting healthier. And in recent weeks, they've been healthier than they were earlier in the season. You look at the NFC next week, and the 49ers and Seahawks will play not just for the NFC West crown, but the number 1 seed in the NFC. What do both those teams have in common? They lost to the Buccaneers. So the Buccaneers went from beating the 2 teams that will face off for the number 1 seed to not being able to beat anybody. And it really has been everything across the board. The offensive line hasn't played well. Baker Mayfield hasn't played well. The play calling has been atrocious. And there's really nothing this team's doing well right now, even though they've got a chance to still win the division on Saturday against Carolina.
Well, we're still a couple of months away from the baseball season, but the Rays have been active so far in the offseason. They send away Brandon Lowe to Pittsburgh. Shane Baz goes to Baltimore. They're in that 3-team trade with Houston and Pittsburgh. Is this more of a retooling year for the Rays, or do they really feel like they got the guys they got in the return and all of those deals are going to catapult them to a playoff spot in 2026?
For Rays fans, it's kind of more of the same. Hey, look at the new toys. I'm telling you, they're going to be great. And unfortunately, for a lot of Rays fans, they're just not really feeling it. Cedric Mullins, good baseball player. I know they got back some prospects they really believe in, but prospects they really believe in has kind of been the story around here for a long, long time. So when you get a new ownership group with Patrick Zalewski and the other new owners that are, involved in this baseball team, and they're working hard, and we're hearing good things about what might be coming on the baseball stadium front. At the same time, I remember when Patrick Zalewski was talking to us that first time at the press conference, and somebody did ask the question about the payroll, and he said the economics of the baseball team still haven't changed. So do the Rays believe they can compete this year? Probably. Do Rays fans feel that way? I don't think so.
Well, at one point, near the top of the league among best arms in baseball, Shane McClanahan hasn't pitched in a major league game since August of 2023, but the Rays believe that he'll be ready to go by opening day 2026. What should fans expect from him with this long layoff of all the injuries?
I'd love to tell you that I know, but let's be honest, they also expected him to be ready for 2025, and then all of a sudden it was, well, he's got this nerve thing, but it's just a nerve thing, so that's a good thing. So it probably won't be very long. And then next thing you know, he never threw a pitch last season. So it's kind of like with everything else. It's hard for the Rays fans to believe. Listen, we know when he's healthy, and like you said, it's been a couple of years. When he's healthy, he looks like he could be a Cy Young candidate. But the reality is it's hard for anyone to believe that they can rely on him to be healthy for really any of the season, let alone the entirety of the season.
And lastly, the Rays appear to be returning to the Trop in 2026. Is this a big-time relief for the fans that love this team?
Let me tell you something. A lot of people hate Tropicana Field, but they hate it a lot less. They hate it a lot less after last season. It was miserable at Steinbrenner Field. And listen, the Yankees did us a favor. They gave us a place to play for a season. But I've never been to a ballpark where people were moving out of the good seats because they were too hot. They moved back into the shade because the good seats were too hot. It was miserable at Steinbrenner Field. I think it did impact the play. I don't think that team was good enough to compete for a World Series or even the division regardless. But that's not a place you want to play baseball. So as much as this team needs a new ballpark, I think a lot of Rays fans, and I know I'm one of them, actually excited to get back to Tropicana Field this year.
Pat, thanks so much for your time. You have a good one.
Anytime, my friend.
Local talk plus national headlines from the people who are there. The 2-minute drill on the program with Soren Petro on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, listen up. Football season is rocking and rolling and headed down the stretch to the playoffs. That means there's all kinds of action. Like tonight with the Rams and Falcons. Get in on the action. Underdog Unwrap. That's right. You'll unwrap tons of promos all throughout the holidays with the Underdog app. They've got boosts, gimme picks, deal reveals, and even some surprises sprinkled in. It's the best time to get in the game. Right now, you can make entries, win money in Missouri. Playing on Underdog is super easy. Just choose whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like rushing yards, receptions, touchdowns, and more. Give me an example. Like tonight, I don't think that the Rams, who are locked out of the number 1 seed, are going to bring it. So I think Bijan Robinson is going to have a big day. Don't know if it's on the ground. Don't know if it's catching the ball. It doesn't matter. If you love him on the ground, you can go higher than 74.5 rushing yards. Me, I'm going higher than 124.5 rushing and receiving yards combined. He's a stud. I don't think the Rams' heart's going to be in it, so I think he's going higher than 124-plus rushing and receiving yards. Matt Stafford, I think the Rams are going to get down. I think he's going to go to the air. I like Matt Stafford higher than 270 passing yards. It's just that easy. Download the app, use the promo code SOREN. That's how it works. Download the app, use promo code SOREN to score $75 in bonus entries when you play your first $5. That's promo code SOREN. Get your entries right. You can win up to 5,000 times your cash. So what are you waiting for? Download the Underdog app today. Use promo code SOREN, SOREN. At Underdog, make plays, win money.
Must be 18 plus and present in Missouri. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org.
Men, the new year is here, and with it comes an opportunity to make real positive changes in your life. If you're struggling with erectile dysfunction and ready to move past the frustration and embarrassment, now is the time to call Heartland Men's Health. Maybe you remember the first time it happened, you laughed it off, no big deal, but when it happened again and again, you realized it was a problem. Maybe the pills work sometimes, but not the way you want, or your intimacy has become just good enough instead of truly great. Few things matter in life more than intimacy, and when ED interferes, it can seriously affect confidence and relationships. Heartland Men's Health offers proven treatments that work when the pills and the herbals fail, treatments with success rates of over 90%.
We continue rolling on the program on Sports Radio 810 WHB. I'm your host, Jack Johnson, filling in for Seren Petro, as I will be doing tomorrow and on Friday. Kurtis Seaboldt's here, Kyle Collier producing this thing. And now we're jumping back on the phone line.
And also, Friday is Hawaiian Shirt Day. So
I don't know if I own one.
You can, wear a,
Is this
Hawaiian
always a
shirt
theme?
And
it's a
jeans.
Lebo thing?
That's a movie reference.
Okay. You got good movie references.
Thought it was funny.
Okay, well,
They're lying to you.
Yeah,
They
there we
want to
go.
make you dress up. Don't listen.
Well, I'd be all right with it. There could be
Space.
worse things. Damn, I love that movie too. I just forgot that was the line in it. I'll do it. I'll wear a Hawaiian shirt because now that we got the stream on here, I can at least show it off to a few people. Lebo, thanks for joining us here, even if we only got you for a little bit. We have pushed off long enough. I know this is going to be rough for Kurtis, but the Tigers falling to Virginia in the bowl game, low-scoring affair. In the post game, it felt like it was one of those. I don't know. I feel that now with bowl games, when you do have some guys that opt out. I mean, the Tigers have been dealing with quarterback injury too, where it's not the same full strength, full health Tigers team. Would this be classified, Lebo, as a disappointing season because of how the final couple of weeks went, or is it still, hey, we've come this far now where a down season can still be an 8-win year where we lost our starting quarterback about halfway through?
I think it's okay to be 8-5 and have a down year. I wouldn't judge anything by what happens in a bowl game. Is Mizzou a little disappointed with the year? Yeah, they probably should be a little disappointed in the year because I think there were high hopes. And, they listen, Eli Drinkwitz has been told he can't win these games. They did not win the games against the quote-unquote better teams or ranked teams that they played. And if you want to have a special season, you got to go do that. They had a harder schedule this year. Some teams improved. Vandy was certainly better than they were. Oklahoma was certainly better than they were last year. Those were both games that they won at home last year. They flipped them to the road and lost those games. And, it's going to be hard to beat Alabama. I know Alabama, this is the greatest Alabama team of all time, but they're in the playoff. They made the SEC title game. I don't judge anything by what happens in these bowl games, just the same way I used to argue with Steven about this. Beating Ohio State in the bowl game a couple years ago is no big deal. Ohio State was not engaged. They were not playing all their guys. And Missouri wasn't playing all their guys this week. Their quarterbacks left after they had their bowl Zoom to talk about the game. So I wouldn't judge too much on the game itself. But the offense was certainly disappointing down the stretch, regardless of who was playing quarterback.
Yeah, I will judge two things from that game on Saturday night. The first is Eli Drinkwitz clearly has to go find a quarterback because you can't come back. You can't start next year with Matt Zollers, I don't think. He doesn't appear to be ready. The other thing would be when it was an amazing cinematic moment when you're watching the game and you're listening to Louis Riddick talk, and it's 4th and 2, and they're showing a tight shot of Ahmad Hardy, and Louis Riddick says, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go with my All-American running back, and we're going to run. And why is he going off the field?
Yeah.
While he's talking, they're literally showing a shot of Ahmad Hardy going off the field, to which
it happened so many times in the past couple of years with Luther Burden.
Yeah.
You'd look up and you'd be, why isn't Luther Burden on the field on third down? I don't know. They got a plan, right? But I don't know what the plan is.
I don't know what the plan is. I don't know why nobody asked the question. In the postgame, nobody asked specifically, why did the best, maybe the second best running back in the country, why was he not on the field for 4th and 2? Why did you have a quarterback run a sprint play and not know what hand the ball's supposed to be in? It's just, and then the shot of Hardy not looking incredibly happy next to Drinkwitz on the sideline. That his usage of players will always puzzle me to this point, and more than that, his ability to seemingly get top-notch talent, NFL talent everywhere, but quarterback. He's like the anti-Gary Pinkel. How can you not ever have a guy?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's tough. I mean, I think the best quarterback that they had was the guy who stuck around for a long time, and that was Brady Cook. And he's playing in the National Football League, but he's not some star quarterback. They need to be better at quarterback than they had with Brady Cook if they want to get to where they want to go, because they had a really nice defense this year and a really nice running game, and it wasn't enough. The SEC is getting harder. They're going to have 9 league games next year. It's getting more difficult as we speak to get to where you want to go. But it's getting easier theoretically to find a quarterback because you can just go get him. You know, they took a stab at Pribula, and he was okay, but he wasn't good enough, and now he's gone. That's just the way the world works.
15 straight quarters
in this day and age. You got to be better than that. And maybe, I don't know. You got to say they haven't judged it well enough. You know, it's not like I don't think they cared about other quarterbacks because I know they've been recruiting a lot of these guys. Maybe they just lost out on them or whatever. But you ought to be able to get more offensively than they got out of what they had this year. And it's tough to have your quarterback get hurt. I know all that stuff. And they played a young guy a little bit, but it has not been good enough. It's not what Missouri has been used to in quarterback play. That's for sure.
When does the seat get hot?
Well, the seat's always hot, and it's never hot. I mean, he just signed another extension.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's true.
You know, I mean, that's when he got that extension done before the Arkansas game. That's just smart business, man.
Yep.
You get the extension done.
Cred, man.
And listen, cred, yeah. I mean, they beat Arkansas. Arkansas was terrible. They already fired their coach, but they also didn't throw a touchdown pass against Arkansas. They 15 quarters.
Yeah,
to end
last
the season
15
without
quarters.
a touchdown pass.
Yep. Do you watch?
It's not quite good enough.
When you watch Luther Burden last night play the way he's played, you kind of go, boy, they didn't get as much as they should have out of that guy.
Well, listen. Like I said, Brady Cook's a really nice guy.
Yep.
He's a really smart guy. He's worked really hard, and he's gotten to play for one of the worst teams in the league because 3 guys got hurt.
Yep.
But, you know, Luther Burden, Luther Burden doesn't care. Luther Burden went to Missouri. That's where he wanted to go, and Luther Burden got paid money and all that stuff. But he looks better with the number 1 draft pick throwing him balls.
that helps.
At Mizzou. It always helps when you have that happening, especially a number 1 draft pick who's now in his 2nd year, has a really good offensive coordinator calling the plays for him up there. He's getting more and more of a chance, but he looked good last night. I had the 1 drop near the end, but they had a chance to win that game, and he looks like he's going to be a star paired up there with Caleb Williams.
The good news for Missouri fans, though, is that, you know, the football season's over, but they'll have this great basketball team to watch. For their
oh, do they? I missed that part.
Boy.
Is that something I was unaware of? Did I miss the release on them basketball team?
Tongue firmly implanted in cheek.
Lebo, I do have a question more about how the Tigers should approach this offseason. You had someone like Ahmad Hardy. You had an elite defense. It didn't really work out at quarterback, but is this another situation where you go, if we can find another guy like Ahmad Hardy, we continue to add to this defense, eventually we're going to hit on one of these quarterbacks? Or is this an offseason where you go, I'd rather go out there and pay big money to bring in a top quarterback, and then we'll just build around that guy?
Well, I think you need a quarterback, for sure. Look at these teams who are in the college football playoff right now. They either spent big money in the portal or they've got, stars. Like the Ohio State freshman's a star. He was a big, highly recruited guy. And Ty Simpson is stuck around Alabama, who was a highly recruited guy. John Mateer was a disappointment for Oklahoma, I think, because he got hurt a little bit. But, he was like the top quarterback in the portal, and they got the offensive coordinator, too. And they had just enough offense to get there. But, Mendoza was a big transfer. And like I mentioned, Ohio State had a freshman quarterback. But these teams have had really good coaches and really good and they've spent some money on some of these guys. So you have to have that. You can win games with defense and a running game, but can you win in the SEC with defense and a running game?
No.
Or do you have to have a little bit more? Like I said, it's going to get harder next year. I don't know what Kansas is going to be, but Missouri has to come to Kansas next year. They're one of their 3 non-con games is a road game. So that gets a little bit tougher down the stretch. And whoever it is going to be someone, unless it's Zollers, who hasn't been playing for them. But this is what it's like all over the country right now. Like I just saw today, one of the best wide receivers in the country was a kid at Auburn. He's got another year at least to go. He's in the portal right now. He's going to be at Tech or Texas or Florida or somewhere like that. Auburn, is a really good program, but Auburn's changing coaches and all that stuff. So they're just going to keep moving around, and you got to find those guys and get the right mix. It's so hard. And one of the things, Kurtis, that I always liked about Gary Pinkel is these quarterbacks always got better because they were with him for 2, 3, 4 years.
That's true.
And they continue to get better. It's a different talent to be able to have someone in your program
for sure
for a few months and get them to mesh with everybody. I think it's a super challenge these coaches have now.
And he's found a way to put together running games. The three greatest running back seasons in Missouri history have been over the last 5 years of Eli Drinkwitz, Tyler Bidet is now, and then Cody Schrader, and now Ahmad Hardy. So he can find those dudes and scheme up a run game. They need to bring in a passing game guy because they seemingly have no clue on what to do in the passing game, which you can't do that.
Who some people didn't like that. I mean, that was during the whole bowl season, so that's not easy to do. None of these, we talked about it a bunch. They got to fix the calendar. You know, these coaches are leaving in the Middle East, and these bowl games, theoretically, are supposed to have some import, but I don't think they do, or people would stay and coach. The college football playoff is supposed to be important, and Lane Kiffin left in the middle of it, you know. And I get why the guys at the smaller schools left in the middle, because this is their chance to go, you know, get to be big time. But if you got Ole Miss where they need to be, and now you're going to go, I know LSU is theoretically a better program. You're going to make some more money. You're going to have some more money to spend in the portal. But you already have the school right where you want to be, and you're going to go leave. So college sports has a lot of problems. There's no question about that.
Last couple of questions, Lebo. Really appreciate your time. Want to talk some Chiefs football here. Tim and Kurtis and I were going back and forth, you know, with NFL mock drafts, because that seems to be the focus now with one more regular season game to go. We know who a lot of people want, and that's Jeremiah Love, the running back out of Notre Dame. You also need defensive line help. Is that Pete Woods out of Clemson? Is that Reuben Bain out of Miami? If you were in charge of making that pick, what do you feel like the Chiefs need a hell of a lot more than the other position?
I don't know if it's a hell of a lot more, but I do think it's edge rusher, something on that front. I do think, listen, Jeremiah Love looks like a special running back, and there are some special running backs around the league, but many of them are not going to be in the playoffs this year. You take notice of that. Everyone loves Bijan Robinson and what he's been. Jahmyr Gibbs, what he's been. Jonathan Taylor's been a star. Looks like none of those teams could be in the postseason. So I think a game record on the D-line would be a better thing. Now, who's that going to be? Are there 4 or 5 guys who possibly will be there when it comes time to go draft? You don't know that yet. What I do like is they've lost a couple of these games, so they're going to be a little bit higher than maybe they even would have been when people started putting the mocks out about a month ago. But I also like the fact that whether they should or not, at least 2 or 3 teams are going to take a quarterback in front of them. So whatever number they're picking, they're not really picking that number. Subtract 2, because there's going to be a couple quarterbacks taken. So that brings it down a little bit more on what you need. And I don't think they need to go draft an offensive tackle or anything like that. So, you know, they don't have needs all over the place that they need to use there. So if there's an edge, I'm in. You know, some edge that's a game record in some way, because they just have not affected the quarterback this year.
So if they're sitting there at 9 or 10 and it's Reuben Bain and Jeremiah Love, you're going Reuben Bain.
That's right. I am.
Last one for me.
He's a beast.
I clearly feel that if you had one of those two guys, you'd feel, you know, over the moon about picking that high and landing a player like that. But as for the guys playing on Sunday, some could be playing in their final game with the Chiefs and playing elsewhere, but the guy we're all focusing on is Travis Kelce. Lebo, will this be the final time that we see number 87 put on a uniform in the NFL?
I think so. But I wouldn't bet on it, because I think he does have that gym rat mentality a lot. You know what I mean? He really, really loves football. And he's going to miss that. He knows he's going to miss that. So I wouldn't guarantee it, but I do think it probably is, because, you know, it's a lot to come back from all the stuff you have to do to get ready. And the other side of it is he's never gone into an off season where he's engaged to be married. You know, It's a big life change, all that kind of stuff. So this seems like a decent time to get all that stuff done. But maybe he wants to come back and do one more. I don't know, but it shouldn't be at $17 or $18 million or whatever like he's making this year. That would be not smart by the Chiefs.
Lebo, really appreciate your time. We'll see you tomorrow.
All right, buddy. Talk to you.
There he goes. That's Todd Lebo, our very own Todd Lebo, taking time out of his day after working.
All over the place.
All over.
Up this morning, and he's back here.
He is a jack of all trades.
Ubiquitous.
Very, very valuable to the team here and sparing 10 to 15 minutes for us talking some
And
Mizzou football and Chiefs.
Always has the correct cover sheet for his TPS reports.
Does.
Every
Yes.
single time.
A very organized
Does not need to be
man.
reminded.
No. Lebo's a great man, and if you missed any of that...
Got middle, upper management written all over him.
He does. And you missed any of that, and you missed any of our interviews, whether it be with Grunny or it be, stuff we talked about in hour number 1. You can always check it out on the podcast page. Yeah, tough. Yeah, we'll never hear from him again. Never get any clips from
It's
that.
on its way to Mars.
Yes, Kyle will have that all under control here as soon as the show comes to an end. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we will wrap up hour number 3 of the program.
All right, well, that was tasty. All right, the Nick and Jake's end of the hour answer. What was the last head coach to win the AFC West for someone other than the Chiefs or Broncos?
Wouldn't Oh, no, I was thinking about the year the Chargers, it was 2018. They came into Arrowhead and won, and they leapfrogged them.
Yeah, but they
did not win that year.
No, that's part of the. It was part of the streak.
Raiders, I'm guessing, with Gruden.
How about Norv Turner in the 2009 San Diego Chargers?
LT would have still been on the team.
Yep, that was
Gates.
the last time. Chiefs won it in 10. Broncos then won 5 straight, and the Chiefs won 9 straight. Now it's the Broncos again. So
I think a lot of people
they're
too
just sharing it back and forth.
Going into the year, if you wanted to have the sexy pick of it not being the Chiefs, I feel a lot more people picked the Chargers over the Broncos simply because of Justin Herbert.
Yeah, more proven quarterback.
But man, do they get hurt more than anybody else, it feels like.
And I'm telling you, I said this 6 weeks ago, more than that. Rarely have I seen a high seed that screams home division playoff upset more than the Broncos. If they're the one, they could that'd be one of those 95 Chiefs type seasons.
And they could get Buffalo too, because if Buffalo goes into Foxborough and wins like they did a couple weeks ago, they would then go to Denver. Mm-hmm. The only thing I would give Denver the nod over New England is the defense and not leaving Mile High, and how many teams going into Mile High when it's probably going to be freezing here in a couple of weeks. I mean, that defense is tough. If you said game on the line, it's Allen versus Bo Nix. I'm probably taking Josh Allen to go the length of the field over Bo Nix. But if it's need a defensive stop, I'm taking Denver's defense against a lot of these other teams. That's for sure. New England also had one of the easiest schedules we've ever seen. But they did their job. They beat who was in front of them. Yep. So it'll be the Broncos and the Patriots, the 1 and the 2. We'll go with hour number 4 next.
All right, Pete Carroll did it. Who's the only other Raiders coach to have a 14-loss season?
Hour number 4 of the program on Sports Radio 810 WHB. I'm your host, Jack Johnson, filling in for Soren Petro, Kurtis Seaboldt, Kyle Collier here. We're going to tell you what you need to know.
You know why we're going to do it? Because you need to know.
Because you need to know it. And
we
we're
care about you.
Incredibly smart, enriched with knowledge that we got to, if in case you missed any of this stuff, you won't get it anywhere else. Then
all right, Jack,
here.
tone it down.
Yeah, exactly.
With immense knowledge.
Yes, exactly. And what's funny about this is what you need to know is that, hey, the Chiefs spoke earlier today.
They did. Well, okay.
As we joked about.
A chief spoke briefly.
And as a coach.
Very briefly, yes.
And that
coach,
coach,
we'll hear more on Wednesday. But.
Yes. The last week of the regular season for the Kansas City Chiefs, they will wrap it up with Raider Week, as we heard all about from Tim Grunhard, how important that week was for him as a player. Not so much it's the same anymore, and it certainly can't be that way when you got a 2-14 football team.
No.
It's lost 10 in a row, and a 6-10 football team that has won once since their bye week, which would make them 1-7, 1-6 in their last handful of weeks. It's been ugly.
It is.
And the quarterback play is not going to be starting quarterback play.
1-7.
1-7.
Yeah, because they were 5-3 at one point.
We know it's not going to be Geno Smith starting for the Raiders. It could be Kenny Pickett. It could be somebody else. We know for the Chiefs.
Could be Ken Stabler.
It could. It could. And
dig him up.
Right now the Chiefs are favorites, and it's not by a point or two.
No.
They are a 5.5-point favorite.
That line has moved a point in the Chiefs or in the Raiders' direction. It was 6.5 yesterday. It's currently 5.5.
Betting on this game would be a choice.
Yeah, that's not. They're now. It's down that tease down line area. So it's be interesting to monitor that over the next 3 days.
Yeah, I was pretty surprised that they were a near touchdown favorite when this opened. It also says a lot about how the Raiders have looked for the better part of 10 weeks. I mean, their losses have not been competitive losses. They've been blown out by pretty much everyone.
It really is hard to overstate how bad the Raiders have been this year. I only know because I get to talk to Adam Hill every week. It's just so I'm kind of forced to look at their game. And every week you're just like, oh my God.
It's ugly. I mean, and I was way, way off. When Pete Carroll was hired, I thought, they'll finally have, some stability with a guy who's motivated to come back. You bring in Geno Smith, who's not a great quarterback, but based on some of the quarterback play they'd had, I thought 7-10 maybe. And that's likely what the Chiefs are going to be after this game. And Chris Oladokun only had 66 passing yards. If he takes care of the football, they're going to win this game. If they don't set up the Raiders with the short field, the defense is going to play well enough. They're probably going to be able to force a turnover or two and win this game 14-3.
Let's just hope they don't.
And that's another part about this. What sucked about the final two games here, it's the Broncos and Raiders. And if you still care about that rivalry, if this was the Cardinals and the Saints, I'd say, go ahead and lose by 40. I really don't care. I've got no ill will toward those teams.
I don't mind losing these two.
I don't think I would either, and that may be the only reason why I'd sting a little bit more.
Because if they lose, it's like
the Raiders could lose out on the top pick too, so it would hurt them if they did win, which is maybe why they're going to tank even harder than the Chiefs would be trying to tank.
If they lose, if the Raiders win, it's Chris Oladokun. Shut up.
It is. But I do hope for him. I mean, it would be cool to be able to end this season and say, hey, I won a game I started in the NFL.
Cool for him.
It would be cool because he may not get another one.
Win or lose. Either the Chiefs are going to have a little better draft pick or Chris Oladokun is going to be able to have a 1 next to his name.
Absolutely.
That's pretty cool.
And a 7-10 year is not much different than 6-11 other than where you be drafting. So I know that has been the focus,
so to speak,
for the majority of this show is, man, who could they take? Who could they take? But the Chiefs still had to speak to the media. There's still a game to be played, and Chris Oladokun will get another chance to start. I thought he was pretty impressive against the Titans in the second half. There were moments against the Broncos. I also can give a nod that Broncos defense is pretty gruesome in a good way. And on how many attempts? 20-some? I mean,
too many.
No. I think the goal in that game was do not turn it over, and we're not going to put you in a spot to turn it over here. But we just heard from Todd Lebo. Todd Lebo actually asked Andy Reid about Chris Oladokun finally having a normal starter's week.
Right, he'll get a normal week of work and look forward to seeing what he does with that. He did a nice job last week of getting everything together and organized in his mind, and was able to manage the game well there.
Got to donate $1 to the bad throw jar.
Yes. It's got to be incredibly difficult to game plan
to
against
do good throws. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, to do good throws, too. I can't imagine I'd have many. But I would say when it comes to Chris Oladokun, what I would hope to see more of from a watchability standpoint against the Raiders, I'd really like to see them use his legs.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not going to light it up, through the air. I'm not sure you have enough healthy receivers to light it up through the air.
It was the 10th game this season in which a quarterback did not complete a pass that was 10 yards or more in the air in the entire game.
Was that pass to Kelsey on the final drive? Really? That felt like a little bit more than 10 yards, but he also was scrambling and then stepped up, and so it was probably 8 or something like that.
And the longest game they had the entire night was 14. They had a couple of 14-yard plays.
I had wondered, because we had talked about it leading up to that game, what was it going to take for the Chiefs to win? And I believe you had said it's going to take 2 turnovers deep in their territory. They got one.
Turned it into 7, amazingly.
They did. And the other part to this, too, was they're going to need a big return. They did get one from Rashard Smith. And I was sitting there watching the game. I go, one more turnover.
One more.
And Kay is exactly right on what was needed. The keys to the game.
Taken.
You would have been on top of it more than some of the broadcasters when they do their, here's our keys to the game. You got to be more direct than that.
That would have been it.
They need 2 turnovers inside their own 30-yard line or inside their opponent's 30.
If they got one on that last drive, maybe they win.
They'd probably kick a field goal, and they win that game 16-13.
Could
but
be.
No dice.
Nope.
We also got to hear a lot about Patrick Mahomes earlier today, and rehabbing. Tim Grunhard had brought that up. He doesn't want him to rush back into it so quickly. But Pete Sweeney asked Andy Reid about how much Patrick Mahomes will be around for this specific week.
He's around, so he's in the building and working, doing his rehab, and spending a lot of hours doing it. He's really attacked that, and will continue to do that. So he's around and sees the guys, and but most of his time is being spent rehabbing.
Does he make this trip to Vegas, or will he stay?
Yeah, probably not. Not this soon, no.
It's got to be eating him up so much that he can't play. I had wondered, though, from his competitive spirit, would it be tougher to sit there and watch these games where you were maybe, let's say the Chiefs were 12-1 or something when he went down, and it was, man, we had something special lined up, and I can't play.
Like in 19 when he thought he was going to be
out for a while. Or is it worse sitting there as your season just continues to spiral going?
Question.
I don't know. Being out there, it's not like we could have gotten in the postseason, but just to see loss after loss, the offense sputter, the injuries pile up. I mean, it sucks either way for him.
Oh, yeah.
But I would say that, just knowing how competitive he is, this has not been fun for him. No. But hoping for a speedy recovery, and who knows, maybe he would be ready by week 1 of 2026. Jesse Newell had asked Andy Reid if it's a silver lining to know they'll have a much higher draft pick than in their recent years.
Yeah, Jesse, with Brett and his crew doing it, it's that part's exciting to see and what takes place, and something to look forward to. You're right; it's not where you want to be, but it is where we are, and we've got good people doing the picking, headed up by Brett.
They're not going to pick this high again, in my opinion, unless there were a plethora of injuries and some catastrophic stuff happens like that. But by God, do you have to hit on this one?
Yep.
If you want to say, this is not where we want to be, because that's very believable. This cannot be one of those picks where you remember the name 15 years down the road for the wrong reason.
Yeah. And it's not just the high pick there; it's a higher pick in every round. So you need to take advantage of it.
You need to take advantage of it, and who knows, they might be moving on from some guys, too, that can get them some picks in return.
How many times have we seen some, so-and-so went, even in the second or third round, 4 picks after or ahead of where the Chiefs went. They didn't have a chance at this guy. They're going to have a chance at some guys that they haven't had a chance at before, and they need to hit on more than just the first one.
Yeah, can't have more than 2 misses, in my opinion. You got to get some value out of every guy you're taking in the upcoming draft. Well, you'll have the draft to talk about. We also have next season to talk about. And Matt Derrick had also asked Andy Reid about this upcoming year.
The only one I think is questionable there would be Trey. He kind of pushed through that ankle, and he would probably push through this game too. But I'm most likely going to hold him back a little bit, and so he just that thing's been bugging on him for a while. That'd be probably the only one.
Well, that was my bad. I jumped the gun. And
I've had 2 crap throws. You threw the wrong cut. So
no, it was
only one
good.
throw in a perfect game so far has been Kyle. That's
exactly.
about to change.
He was ready to go.
That was about if he had any. Matt Derrick asked him for any starters who he thought might sit, because there's a lot of, as we talked with Tim, situations where you've got bonuses or whatever incentives. So
yeah, the incentives are going to be important. You got a guy like Travis Kelce who may be playing his final game. We'll see just how much run those guys get. Do we have time for one more, Kyle? Can we get to that one? Okay, cool. Perfect. Yeah. So the one I was supposed to wait and throw to, this was Matt Derrick asking Andy Reid about next year.
I know you've gone through this every year for the last few years, but is there any scenario that you can imagine where you're not back as the coach next year?
I'm listen. I think I'm coming back. Right. If they'll have me back, I'll come back. You never know in this business, Matt. So that's a tough one, but I plan on it. Yeah.
So Andy Reid planning on coming back, and we're coming back next with Trent Green.
The program with Soren Petro.
What do you think?
Weekdays from 2 to 6 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, listen up. Do you love your hoops? The NBA is in full swing right now. Dunks, buzzer beaters, block parties, they're all going on. And with Underdog Unwrapped, you'll unwrap tons of promos all throughout the holidays. They've got boosts, gimme picks, deal reveals, and even some surprises sprinkled in. It's the best time to get in the game right now. You can make your entries, win money right now in Missouri. Get your entries right, you can win up to 5,000 times your cash. All you got to do is choose your favorite player and determine whether they'll go higher or lower on stats like points, rebounds, steals, and more, or combine them. Like, I'll give you an example tonight. The Joker, he's been absolutely on fire. 55.5 combined points, rebounds, and assists. I'm going higher. He had like 50-something the other night just in points. Jokic is insane. I like going higher on Jokic on almost everything that they can put out there, right? The other side, though, he's got to play defense. I think he wears himself out on offense, so I kind of like to go higher on the points on the guys he might be checking. Bam Adebayo going higher on the 17.5 points. It's just that easy. Click on the player. You can see all the numbers that are available for that player. And, again, just go higher or lower. So what are you doing? Download the app right now. What are you waiting for? Get the Underdog app today. Use the promo code SOREN, S-O-R-E-N, to score $75 in bonus entries when you play your first $5. That's promo code SOREN, S-O-R-E-N. It's at Underdog. Make plays. Win money.
Must be 18 plus and present in Missouri. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org.
Men, the new year is here, and if you're like many of us, you're ready to improve your health. But if you're feeling low energy, not sleeping well, or not seeing results in the gym, keeping that resolution can be tough. This is Jeff for Heartland Men's Health, and if those symptoms sound familiar, we can likely help. They often point to low testosterone, and treating low T is what we do. But this year, we're also helping men go further with 4 targeted body composition plans featuring growth hormone peptides, NAD+, GLP-1s, PDA, and more, designed to boost energy, support metabolism, enhance recovery, and accelerate fat loss. With our low T treatments combined with our body composition programs, most men notice
two little stories, and then we'll hit over to.
Yeah, so you just do all of that, and then when you bring in the
Yep.
kicker, that's when we'll do the tryouts thing.
Yep.
Okay, so 2 minutes exactly, Kyle? Okay.
Tell me where did it go?
Looks like he's thumbs up.
Okay.